Hello everyone and welcome to Singapore for another round of the GPVWC Supercup Championship. This a very interesting round of the championship as the top two drivers are only separated by 8 points here. That's Maciej Winnick leading from Stefan Rohr. We have a fight on our hands as we have done for this entire series so far, and it kicks off with qualifying. Alongside me today I'm going to be joined in the commentary box by Corey Dyer. Hello Corey.
Hey, how are you doing there, Penny? It's good to be here, and of course, Singapore, an absolutely epic race. Maybe not the best overtaken, but those straights, anything can happen. Of course, always in for a chance for a crash here, aren't we?
Oh, certainly, and well, I hope we don't see too many because we've had a couple of really carnage-packed races so far this season, and that does get a bit tiring for the voice, but you know. Definitely things can happen at Singapore. We've seen it in every series that races here. You know, Formula One here last year was absolutely tremendous. Even, I mean, that was in the rain, of course, but even without the rain, you get drama. And GPVWC last year, I seem to remember, was actually the first GPVWC round that I'd personally seen, and absolutely got me hooked. The Supercup, I think was dominated pretty much by Alex Siebel, but behind him, pretty much everything kicked off, and I'm expecting a very similar thing to happen here this year. So, who knows who's going to walk out of here with a big fat trophy?
Well, you're talking about that. Dominating at the moment is the lads of the Scuderia Basilea. Just there, both of them, Winnick and Renault, 427 points and 419. You know, respectively, that is a whopping lead in front of Bence Zepanek, who's there and 41. But behind them, that's where it gets a bit close. Roy Schroten, 177. Bastien Paisler, 176. 1 point. So near enough. Okay, Constructors is already sorted, but the Drivers' Cup, it's all still up for grabs, isn't it? Yeah,
certainly. The Constructors' Cup, well, I wouldn't say it's up for grabs. The Scuderia Basilea team has absolutely run away from it, but behind them you have a couple of drivers absolutely fighting for it. In the Drivers' Championship, though, yeah, still very close, and not just for 1-2. Behind them as well, you have the fight for third between Zepanek and Schroten. Although I don't believe Schroten's here today. That was a bit close there Yeah. I believe we're running on board here with Bastien Paisler. He is in the Holland Racing Team number 25. He's set a relatively quick first sector, but his second sector, I'm afraid, he's just spoiled a bit. He's just showing us the Singapore track, though, for the first time. Here's the really tight hairpin. It's important to get a good exit for this as you head down the longest straight on the circuit. That's including the start-finish straight, I believe, and then you get a right-hander, which could be seen as a hairpin in itself. It's over 90 degrees there as we head into the twisty and technical final sector of the course. Here's the tightest sector. You have a 90-degree left-hander, very narrow, followed by a 90-degree right-hander as well as you go under the bridge, under the grandstand. It's one of the only places on the calendar where that happens. And now we only have one more corner to ride on board with Bastien Paisler. Here we go. It's the double apexed final corner, and as he crosses the line, Paisler puts his car. I'm just waiting for it to register. That was P5 for Bastien Paisler. Meanwhile, I'm going to go down about 10 places.
Oh, damn.
And this...
Just saying there, sorry, cut in, but Matt Richards just taken first. Near enough a second and a half ahead of Paisler there. So lots and lots of time to be set here. Remember, we've still got 10 minutes of qualifying left, don't we, there, Josh? So I'm expecting these times in these places.
Well, they're already tumbling because I'm just watching Dawe Tapper setting the fastest sectors of anyone in the first and very nearly second sector as well. Paisler coming through the final corner. He's right on the limit. You see the tyre smoke being dropped, and as he crosses the line, that is definitely first place by about 0.2 of a second, very nearly 0.2 of a second. Paisler at the top at the minute from Matt Richards. So Paisler topping it so far.
Going to be interesting. You're alluding to that tunnel section there at turn 18 earlier, and for me, this is the biggest aspect to find pace in this track, because a lot of drivers are scared to go into that wall, aren't they, on the entry?
Well, wouldn't you be? It's a very, very solid wall, and a lot of drivers have been into it. Of course, in Formula 1, it caught out a load of people in the early days. You know, Massa went in there, so did Sirtil. Daniel Ricciardo got caught out there once, as did Timo Glock. Hasn't caught out as many victims in recent years, but the corner is still a frightening prospect, and with the drivers trying to really fling it in there, they can sometimes take it a bit too aggressively and just clip that inside wall. But if you clip the inside wall, the chances are it's going to fling you straight into the outside wall as well. So you really can't get away with something like that unless you're extremely lucky.
So are there any of the drivers here that are currently out that haven't set a lap time yet, that you're expecting some good fast? I'm going to point out here, on Monday, the touring cars was absolutely fantastic. How do you think he's going to fare here in a different car? You know, the touring cars were very stable, very slow, but all down to the mechanical little turns of carrying that speed around the corners. Here in the F1, what's so different for these lads?
I actually didn't hear who you were talking about there due to a bit of lag.
Adam Pinches, sorry.
Adam Pinches, yeah. Well, Pinches is one of the drivers who is quick, whatever you put him in. He's quick in a Megane, all the way up to a Super League car. I've seen him racing all three of the career ladder cars. I've just realised I had a big tape delay. Apologies for the slight unprofessional sector of the stream, but yeah, Adam Pincher is definitely one driver. He's actually joined the series quite late, so it's difficult to tell quite what he's capable of, but I'm sure we're about to see it, unless, and I haven't checked the penalties list, but unless he's got a penalty and isn't going out because of that precise reason. Oh, big mistake there. That was Bastian Paisler, I believe, just getting it a bit wrong. He's running 9th at the minute in the order, so plenty of room for improvement. Although, he stopped in the runoff area. I believe there was a car parked on the entry of the corner, which is why he didn't turn in there. But anyway, yeah, definitely still a couple of guys to look out for. Another driver I'd say who is in that category is Daniel Brewer. I'm going to see if I can find right now. There he is. Yeah, Daniel Brewer coming through the final sector. What's that?
Oh, sorry, you just cut out a little bit there as well, buddy. Definitely going to have to see what he comes across. There it is, over the line, and 6th. That's not a bad time, you got to think. 8 tenths slower, but he can definitely find it. He's been sliding a little bit through those turns.
I tell you what, one thing I really don't want to do again is stream, because I am having a couple of issues with frame rate and things like that. So I apologise that today's stream won't be absolute top quality. It wasn't planned for me to stream it in the first place. This was an emergency arrangement after our normal cameraman was ill. But anyway, at least we're bringing you a broadcast today, and watching Stefan Rohr at the minute, the top of the Scuderia Basilea cars, just putting in his personal best first sector. So that's what caught my attention about this lap, and actually that's a quickest second sector time of anyone there. So Rohr definitely on a quick one here. And talking of Adam Pinches has just gone up into to P5, so definitely top 5 material so far. But let's watch Stefan Rohr.
Yep, Stefan Rohr making his way around the track, of course. Oh, intricate. Down to the last turn. Really, we have to see what he brings out here, because I was going to say he's been putting on some blistering times, and that is a good blooming result.
Oh yeah, certainly. It's a 1:45.861. That's the top time of anyone so far. It's 0.152 ahead of Dawe Tapper in second. So a blistering lap there for Stefan Ruhl, and we have 5 minutes left in the session now for people to try to beat that. One driver who's capable of it is Maciej Młynek, and he's just set the fastest. In fact, look at their times. Look at their sector times. Their second sector, or their first two sectors put together, are exactly the same to the 100th of a second. So Młynek and Ruhl having an absolute scrap for the top time here. It's all down to what Młynek can do in this third sector here. He just had to pass a car who was off the road, but he was well off the racing line, so he wouldn't have cared much about that. You don't really have to slow for yellows in sim racing. Round the final corner comes Maciej Młynek, and what is it? I'll be able to see the time in a couple of seconds when it updates. Oh, it only puts him third. He lost a lot of time in that third sector.
Yeah, the third sector, an absolute killer for him there. You'll notice, again, like you said, the overtake, but also those curbs. He was sliding his way over them, just trying to put too much speed down. And that happens when you've got a hunger for the times, isn't it? Yeah, well, I was certainly expecting him to get at least second. He ended up missing out on that by about, well, that's about 0.012 of a second. So he'll be pretty disappointed by that. But yeah, he's still got more to come from him, I'm sure. Just looking through the times now, not being able to near enough touch on down into the 145 area that Renault has put down. That is, I don't think we're going to see a time as fast as that. That was just completely blowing us away, wasn't it?
Well, you say that, but we've seen that Młynek can match his first and second sector times. So if Młynek can just get the third sector sorted, we might well have a Scuderia Basilea 1-2. Which order that will be, I'm not quite sure, but that's something to see later on. I've just watched Tommy Ulitalo putting in another lap there, but I believe it was, well, it hasn't updated yet. Oh, and that's because my live timing screen is frozen, so that's a bad time for it. Can you give some updates, please?
Yep, Tommy's just come in with 147.5. Is onto another lap and is putting the speed on, but not going to be able to. I'm just quickly having a little look through. We can see Ben Hock on a faster time. Definitely a good Sector 1, but Sector 2 suffering a little bit, and he's just updated his time now, 146.415. No one being able to just find that time that Stefan found earlier. Looking through, and we've still got 4 drivers not putting a time down. Johan coming on through. Johan Lindberg, 147.166. That puts him up to 11th. Oh, Patrick Gerber coming through the last sections as well. He's going to have to put on something fast here, but no, he's going into the pit, not just allowing everyone on through. So definitely a lot of precarious moments here on the track. You still with us, Josh?
I'm still with you, and the live timing's updated. We have about 1.5 minutes remaining in this session. Not much time left, less than a lap's worth of time. So some drivers will get one more attempt after this. I am watching one very quick lap here, though. Let's look at Matt Richards. Matt Richards putting in quick sectors in the first and second sector here. I don't think this will be on for pole, but it's definitely on for second if he can just keep this third sector in shape. I believe he just grazed the wall there. That's how close he's getting on the limit. Oh, he's grazed the wall again. In fact, that's not a good line he just took there. And he may have lost himself about a tenth there. We'll have to see as he crosses the line. What's the lap for Matt Richards? It's about to update. Oh, it puts him second. I said it would, and indeed, Richards goes to second with a 0.082 ahead of him to Stefan Ruhl. So if he has one more attempt here, Matt Richards could well challenge for pole position, but that's a good lap. It's a 145.942, the second driver below 146, and Matt Richards might still have more to come from him. I'm just wondering whether he has enough tyres for this last lap of qualifying.
And you've got to be wondering if he just didn't hit those walls, being able to just get that 8/100ths. Definitely thin, as they just take so much speed out of you. Looking around, who's putting on fast times? Looking at the back, actually. Alyssa Ferry just getting up to 20th now, but still only 2 drivers being able to find the 145 and still 3 without being able to put a time in. They're coming down. They've got to do it now.
Well, they do have to do it now because the checkered flags come out, so there's not going to be any more opportunities for them except for what they're doing right now. And I'm watching Adam Pinches out of the final corner. His second sector time wasn't great. What about his third sector? Oh, it was the best of everyone, and he goes to 4th. So Adam Pinches there to 4th position with the fastest sector 3 time of anyone. Dawe Tapper's flying. Well, actually, I say flying. His first sector, again, wasn't great. No, I take that back. It was great. It was just not as good as he has done. And after I've watched this, I want to watch Daniel Brewer, because Daniel Brewer is on a lap that could be on for one of the top positions. But I watched Brewer or Tapper crossing the line first, and Stefan Roll goes fastest in the second sector. There are 3 drivers on flying laps here. Big slide out to the final corner from Dawe Tapper. He crosses the line, and what's the lap? It's about to update. And it's been
just a little bit low, 146.
It's been beaten already by Daniel Brewer. Brewer goes to 3rd. Now, what about Stefan Roll? Stefan Roll doesn't really need to set this lap because none of his rivals are on track at the minute. Actually, I take that back. Maciej Winnick is quietly going about setting a blisterer. But across the line goes Stefan Roll. It is fast. It's a 1:45.861. Brilliant lap. But oh no, it wasn't.
Now you've got to. He's just coming up to the final straight here, buddy, and that is brilliant. 1/10 for Henry, stealing the pole there from Renault.
Gosh, well, the reason I didn't catch that there is because I was getting confused about Royal's lap. He actually didn't go quicker than his lap, but as Winnick came across the line there, he put down a fantastic lap, and it's a 1:45.759 that lets Maciej Winnick steal the pole position away at the very last minute from Stefan Roll. Fantastic lap from Maciej Winnick. Roll tried his hardest, but that's the lot. And it's going to be Maciej Winnick starting from pole, leading yet another Scuderia Basilea 1-2.
You just got a there for Matt Richards, who won alongside Brewer. This is just starting to get a little bit tasty here, isn't it? And qualifying has been a beautiful little treat for us.
I might agree with you if I had any idea about what you just said. But anyway, I hope that... I think I know more or less what you were saying. Yes, I'm definitely looking forward to the race here, because we've seen that it's not just the Scuderia Basilea guys who can challenge today. We have challengers all the way through the top 10, and qualifying there, we kept seeing surprises. We kept seeing surprises from, you know, one driver then another that we weren't expecting. Incidentally, I'm going to point out Matthew Allington reports that Dawe Tapper is a 75 place grid penalty anyway. Ooh. So he won't start from pole position. In fact, he'll be starting right from the back of the grid, which makes sense. I haven't actually looked at the penalty list. I should have done, but I was having all sorts of issues trying to set up the broadcast before this began. But anyway, yeah, we've just been told that Dawe Tapper will not be starting from 5th position where he qualified, so that spot will be taken by Adam Pinches, unless there are some other penalties that I'm not aware of. So we'll see, and I'll update you on the final order on the formation lap.
So just to confirm everyone, then that means he's down in this his set. You can see it up there on the left. The biggest surprise here is just the amount of difference in time setting on down. And wait, Sven de Vries, was he not able to throw out a lap time?
Well, it might well be that he didn't bother, because some drivers don't tend to set laps if they have back of the grid penalties anyway. They just don't want to risk, you know, getting in other people's way, picking up other penalties, that sort of thing. So they just don't bother, and that might well be why Sven de Vries didn't go out onto the track there. That's only speculation. I'm not quite sure, but that could be what happened.
I'm trying to just bring up the penalties on my screen right now. It's just locating them.
Yeah, that'd be good actually. I'm having all sorts of issues with my own internet, so it would be very helpful if you did.
Right, it's looking like we've got 5 minutes. You want to quickly throw us on over to a break? As you can sort out your stream just near enough. I think it's got to be a tweaking of the settings.
I'm not sure what kind of settings I can tweak, but yeah, we're going to go for roughly 4 or 5 minutes break now, and we'll be back in time for the start of the race. It's match and winner compole from Stefan Ruhl, so don't go anywhere. The championship battle is on again. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the GPVWC, still from the Singapore circuit. This is... Sorry, right. Yeah, okay, welcome back to GPVWC Supercup. I think I just made an error with the stream. And we're about to start race 1 here today. Race 1 of the 2 we're eventually going to get. It's going to be the Scuderia Basilea cars on pole position, first and second as usual. This time it's Macho Winnick starting on pole from Stefan Roll. So there's the order. In fact, it's going to be Winnick from Roll, then Richards, Brewer, that's Daniel Brewer, Adam Pinchers, Cameron Roger, Ben Horrell, Matthew Clipp, Patrick Gerber, Craig Patterson, Johan Lindberg, Tommy Ulitalo, Adrian Faber, Sandeep Choda, Peter Schultz, Bastian Peisler, Jack Mayer, Alistair Long, Alyssa Ferry, who appears to be starting from the pit lane, in fact. Oh, along with her Cosmo teammate as well. And then we have Mark Fuller. And I think you're going to have to take the grid from there, seeing as I'd have to escape to see the rest of them.
That's fine. That's cool. So then we have Sven De Vries, Jason Muscat at 22nd, Dal Tapper at 23rd, Sebastian Kosmala at 24th, Bence Zupanak at 25, and Lorenzo De Culutis at 26th. Definitely from Muscat back. Actually, I think it's even from De Vries backwards. These are all lads who are serving their penalties.
I'm just trying to remind myself who Alyssa Ferry's teammate is, the other Cosmo driver starting from the pits.
Sandeep Choda.
Sandeep Choda. Ah, right. I believe that's the first time Choda's driven that Cosmo car. He's been in and out of various different cars throughout this season. But yeah, Choda starting from the pit lane, along with Alyssa Ferry, maybe doing that deliberately. Some drivers do that at street circuits to avoid...
Just seeing in stream from Mike Bell, both Cosmos broke the park firm rules. So,
right.
They'll be starting from the pits.
Now that will mean that they would have changed things on the setup between qualifying and the race, which is not allowed. So that's why they're starting from the pits here. I was going to say though, some drivers do it deliberately anyway on a street circuit to avoid the carnage at the start. But that tends to be in Formula Challenge or something like the ITC, for example, and not a level like Super Cup or Super League, where you really need to start. Trusting, you know, where you can start trusting your rivals and just sort of taking that risk and hoping that nothing goes wrong. But yeah, we hope it won't. Although this is Singapore.
You're saying you hope it don't. As a driver, you hope it don't. But as a spectator at home, I'm pretty sure if you are going to be there, turn 1 is looking quite dubious.
Yes, yeah, well, we'll have to see. So, into the grid boxes go the Scuderia Basilea cars. They're at the front of the order. Let's watch the back of the order as well. Just getting into position, and when our last driver is in place, we will be ready to get this race underway.
Yep, just wait for Lorenzo. There he is, lined up. So, of course, the lights have to start going. Why don't you take us away, Josh?
Yeah, so watch the lighting gantry at the top of the order here. The lighting gantry in the middle of your screen. There are going to be 5 red lights which will come on. And when they go out, we will be underway like right now. Away we go, and it's a much better start for Stefan Roll. Stefan Roll is going to lead into turn 1. He has the inside line. He takes the lead. Roll leads. Matt Richards is going to have to settle for 3rd for now. He defends from Daniel Brewer. And as we head away from the start, still it's the 2 Scuderia Basilea cars in 1-2. Are we all away cleanly? I believe we are, as out of the pits come the Cosmo cars. Along the back straight we go. It's Roll from Winnick, then Richards and Roger in 4th place. Oh, but Roger side by side with Daniel Brewer tries to go around the outside. He'll have the inside for the next corner. They come together. There was slight contact there, wheel-to-wheel contact, and Daniel Brewer has 4th position for now. as we go through the infield section of the course. He has a slight twitch, and now is side by side with his Drake teammate Ben Horrell behind him, and I hear a lot of crash sound effects. Who's in the wall? I believe there have been cars going in further down. Just looking down to see if I can spot that. Actually, I don't think I see anyone in danger, so obviously I was just hearing things there. But whatever the case, it's still Stefan Rohr leading from Matchim Winnick at the front of the order. Corey.
Looking at the back of the pack, though, you could be quite right. Sandeep and Alyssa have just moved ahead of Pietros and Bastian Pacer and Jack. So, starting from the pit lane, getting that far ahead.
Yeah, there was an accident. I'm afraid Jack Mayer's missing his front wing and he's crabbing quite badly. Also dropping behind the Cosmo cars has been, Bastian Peisler and Peter Schultz, as you've said. So there has been some sort of incident further back. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do replays today because I have no way of going back quickly for this. But yeah, it seems that we've had a couple of drivers dropping back through the order. At the end of the first lap, it's Rohr leading from Winnick. Richards, Brewer and Roger, and as they
have a look at Roger now though, because Ben Horrell was looking for a manoeuvre. They are teammates, so hopefully they should keep this clean unless there's a little bit of an accident, a little bit of a miscommunication between the two.
Yeah, these are the Drake teammates, of course. Drake has had real problems recently with not being able to find enough drivers, but Cameron Roger has stepped in for today, and he's having to defend. But his teammate Horrell goes to the inside, and there's slight contact between the two of them. That is not what the Drake boys would like to see. In a big slide from Cameron Roger on the entrance to the corner, his rear end kicks out and very nearly taps the wall there, very close, but gets away with it. But Ben Horrell now, the former Super League driver, is up into 5th position, and a big slide again from Cameron Roger. Cameron really struggling with the rear end of his car there, still just about keeping it under control, but my goodness, that car looks twitchy.
Yeah, just looking on Adam Pince's car behind, he's too scared to make a manoeuvre. He's got the speed to be able to catch up and overtake, but he doesn't want to risk it at the moment. He's looking at these two cars ahead and going, what are you doing, lads? He's too scared to make that manoeuvre in case they slide and just lose that grip. And, you know, he could be the one going into the wall there.
Yeah, it's very difficult in these early stages because you have to attack, but you also have to remember that the race isn't won at this part of the race, but it can certainly be lost here, and a lot of drivers end up getting damaged in the first part of a race, especially on a street course like this one where it's very, very narrow. I've noticed a lot of black dust being kicked up every time they go over the curb on the inside of turn 2. I've never seen that before in Rfactor 2, so I'm not quite sure what's causing that. But yeah, a lot of black dust on the inside there. Must just be the way the curb is. But still, I've noticed no one really getting away at the start of the race here, and I think it's next lap that DRS comes into effect, and that is really going to start shaking up the order even more.
We'll have to say that Zirpiak making the pass past Alistair Long, doing very well, and well, he's got Dal Tapper looking to do the same thing behind those two, basically trying to maneuver their way, climb up the ladder. Oh, and Long's just gone out, unfortunate stuff, getting completely spun around by Tapper.
Yeah, I'm just looking at that on replay. It seems that they went side by side into the corner, and two into that one space didn't fit. To be honest, I think that was probably mostly Long's fault there, as he just got going on the... Well, he just came across slightly. And does he have slight damage? I saw he was driving a bit of a weird line down that straight there. I'm going to see after he comes out of these chicanes. I'm not quite sure, actually. He seems to have got away with it rather lightly.
It's got a little bit of a wobble, but I don't think it's going to be enough to go into the pitch, you know?
Yeah, I think he's got away with it rather lightly. It was only a little tap, which led to his spin, and he didn't really clout the wall hard. So that's good to see. DRS, I believe, is going to be activated on either this lap or the next one. I can't remember if it's on lap 3 or after lap 3, but this is lap 3. Actually, I think it's lap 4 of the race now. So DRS will definitely be in effect. And what's happening behind? I believe Adam Pinch has just lost a couple of places.
Oh yeah, and I'm just actually at Matthew Klipp. He's got Lindbergh behind him, keeps on trying to get a nose in, trying to make that little cut in, but unfortunately can't keep up. Only 3 tenths between them though.
Just looking at that now, this is Matthew Klipp leading Johan Lindbergh. Lindbergh in the YTF1 car, known as being the unluckiest car on the grid, but Lindbergh looking all over the back of Klipp's car so far. This is the battle for 11th position in this race. Remember that unlike in Formula 1, points here go down to 15th position, so this is still an important race within the points paying positions of this race, and certainly not one to be overlooked, as Matthew Klipp is going to have to look in his mirrors as we head down this straight. We're going to have Johan Lindbergh with a slight slipstream. Not much of it though, he's too far behind for now.
Yeah, definitely in a problem here without the DRS.
Ooh.
Just yet. Those overtakes aren't coming in, and what's going on there?
Well,
Josh?
Adam Pinchas just lost 2 positions. He was in 7th last time I looked. Now he's just lost place to both of the Deltec guys. He's now down into 9th place and coming under attack from Craig Patterson. So a little issue there for Adam Pinchas, but still seems to be running okay. And a big slide on the exit from one of the Deltec cars. That would have been Adrian Faber rather. Faber there. And there's a bit of an accordion effect on the exit as they squash together, and Patterson now is going to the outside with Pinchas to the inside. Again, a kick of black dust and a bit of an oversteering moment as well, and Patterson might well get him on the exit here. He's going to the outside as we head towards turn 4 I think. But still, it's Adam Pinchas who is ahead for now as they open the DRS. In fact, look behind now. That's Matthew Klipp coming through. So Matthew Klipp coming through on the outside. Can he get it turned in time? Yes! Sweeps around the outside of Craig Patterson. Takes advantage of the accordion effect of the battle in front of him. And makes up a position. So that's a good move there for Matthew Klipp. Now, what can Johan Lindbergh do about Patterson?
Well, you talk about a line of cars normally in F1, and you have it here. Just amazing from Matthew Klipp all the way back to Ben de Vries, who's made his massive leap up to 14th member time from one of those back lines after the penalties, and he's trying to get past Ulito.
Yeah.
Just can't make it though. Also
saw a slight close moment there between Tommy Ulitalo and who's that? Was that?
Oh, Matthew Klipp.
Yeah, Matthew Klipp's had an off. I'm going to go back quickly and show you just what happened there. It looks like he's just braked too late, gone far too deep into the corner, tagged the wall slightly, and then got it running again. That's a bit of a weird one there. But Matthew Klipp ended up losing a couple of places there, and unfortunately his great overtake has been undone. And now he's down into 14th position behind Sven de Vries.
One thing that is here is just these drivers starting to look after their tyres, essentially after that clean start. And then you've got these just seeing the opportunity to make that quick dive in where they can get past drivers, and unfortunately just overcooking it a little bit too much, aren't they?
I want to have a look at Ben Horrell here. Ben Horrell is in the slipstream of Daniel Brewer, and Brewer himself is slipstreaming Matt Richards ahead of him. We have a proper three-way fight here for third, fourth and fifth rather. And this is one that's probably going to close up on every straight here and is going to change with any one mistake. So all of these drivers have to have their wits about them as they go through the middle sector. Again, slight twitch from Daniel Brewer. It's very easy to have a slight twitch on a course like this with high curbs and tight corners. It's just all about making the fewest mistakes and fewer compared to your opponents.
Yeah, the only problem is, whilst these three here are amongst each other, sort of trying to defend, of course, Richards there, the two Scuderias up ahead are just getting the extra length upon them. You can see now, 4 seconds ahead. They're making that time, and they're literally organizing themselves, getting some great pace in.
The gap for the lead is 0.6 of a second, but the gap from Winnick back to Richards is now 2.7 seconds. So indeed, the Scuderia Basilea cars are definitely getting away at the start here. with Richards becoming a distant memory in the past. And it's all down to the strategy now. If they can get that sorted as well, then the Scuderia Basilea drivers have it absolutely sorted. They've got this race in the bag, but it's far too early to say that properly.
Yeah, looking back as well, trying to see what other fights are going on. And right for 12th, Sven de Vries is having to defend himself from Tommy Ito. He's making that distance, though. He's trying to clamour a good little lead, trying to get outside that DRS range, just trying to get that second ahead.
Yeah, that would be Sven de Vries and Tommy Little for 12th position, 12th and 13th. The gap last time I checked was 0.8 seconds, so I'm still more worried myself about the battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th, where...
Oh, Tommy's got past!
Never mind, just as I say that, it changes. And indeed, yeah, Tommy Little is ahead of Sven de Vries. So Tommy Little has got through. And look in the background, Josh Downard there looking for place as well. He's behind, that's Ben Schupanek, rather. Josh Downard not here today. He was racing that car in a previous round. But yeah, taking a look at Matt Clip. And as they head out onto the back straight, let's watch as a switch, and Little almost has another move, or rather de Vries almost has another move. In fact, he's going for it now on the inside. Oh, big spin, and into the wall there goes Tommy Little. He's made a mistake trying to defend from Sven de Vries. He's been into the barrier, he's lost all of those places. Clip's gone through, Schupanek's gone through, and Tommy Little, I'm afraid, has now dropped behind Dowie Tapper as well. He's in 16th place and out of the points. So a mistake, a lock-up of the rear brakes has pitched Tommy Little into a big spin and out of the points for now.
Yeah, you've got to be careful. He's making that defence on the curbs and course so super slippery, just spinning him out there. The train still continues just with 4 cars.
Oh, look for third, look for third. Matt Richards going to have to defend here as Daniel Brewer took a slight look to the inside, and now he's taking another look, but that was speculative. He was never going to be able to slot it down the inside there. That would be a pretty silly move, and luckily he doesn't go for it. But yeah, Daniel Brewer getting very racy now behind Matt Richards. He can see the 2 Scuderia Basilea cars getting away ahead of them, and he knows that the longer he spends behind Matt Richards, the slower he's going to be compared to them, and the lower his chance of winning this race actually is. So Brewer needs to start pushing here. He feels that he has the pace to get away ahead, and he's certainly challenging for it now. He's going to have the DRS in the next DRS zone. So Daniel Brewer chasing down Matt Richards. Had to drop back slightly due to that one attack there, but I can't say I don't think he'll be right back on his tail again. Bit of a slide, but it was only a small twitch. Notice how Ben Horrell is dropping back now behind them, so they're getting away a bit from him there.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, he's going to have the DRS here, Brewer, but he's not going to be able to make the move here. It's all going to be leading up to turn 5, getting the DRS there, and trying to make that overtake stick.
Another thing I should point out is that we're expecting in a couple of laps the pit window to start. All drivers must pit in this race at least once, and of course they have to change tyre compounds as well, but we don't know quite when that's going to be. I've noticed that the lead gap as they cross the line there was less than half a second, so the 2 Scuderia Basilea cars right together there, although I can imagine they won't fight properly until later on in the race. They want to just get away from this pack until the pit window, get their strategy sorted, and then fight out for the championship. But for now, it's a little bit still a little bit tense between the 2 of them out front.
Yeah, I'd imagine for those 2 it'd be the last 8 or so laps where they'll actually fight. Up until then, you know, it's a long race, 35 laps. They're just going to be playing this safe, making sure none of them crash, and just keeping that fast pace, which they're pulling up massively. Minette now is 6 seconds ahead of Matt Richards, which is just outstanding.
Yeah, the gap there's really come 8, and the leaders have really started to get away from the cars behind them. Well, I say started, they've been doing that for the entire race so far, so it's not exactly a start of anything, but yeah, 6 seconds, 6.1 seconds, the gap is pretty massive, and now they just have each other to focus on. They just need to get away from the pack and make sure that nothing goes wrong.
Oh, look back at 8th. Adrian Faber having to defend against Adam Pinces. Faber just going into the wall there, and well, Pinces is going to have the DRS into... Oh, they're starting straight. Will he be able to make the move?
He's in the slipstream, but he's too far back, I'm afraid. So as we go into the first chicane, he's going to have to wait for a bit. Differing lines there, though. He's going to get a better exit, I expect. Except he had to squeeze the brakes a little bit more than he would have liked there, with Adrian Faber right where he wanted to go. But he's going to have the DRS open again now. What can he do as we go down effectively the back straight? Closes the DRS for the slight kink, and as he breaks into the corner, he's still behind Adrian Faber, but Faber gets over the curb a bit, and look ahead as the other Deltec car gets slightly sideways over the curb there. So still mistakes being made, and still positions changing here, and I can't imagine we've seen the last of Faber versus Pinces.
I think this is good from Pinces. He's playing this safe, right, Josh, where he's essentially not going to so many cars spin out so far. You got to think, it's only 10 laps into a race, and with that number of spins, and it's all just been from these drivers trying to get that little edge up, trying to make a maneuver when it's just not that solid.
Well, the gap as they went through the last checkpoint was less than 0.3 of a second. They're still fighting, and behind them as well. Don't forget about Craig Patterson and Johan Lindberg. That could well turn into a four-way battle before we know it. They're certainly close to each other, and up ahead of them as well, Patrick Gerber, not far up the road, and still making mistakes himself as well. So.
Oh, first pit here, Ben Horrell coming in from 4th. Wonder where he's going to be coming out, Josh. You got any?
Ben Horrell, he's in the pits. I'm just trying to find him now. There we go. He's on camera. He'll be switching onto the harder compound. He doesn't switch onto the harder compounded tyre. Now, I don't think he started on it. That means he must be two-stopping. So Ben Horrell must be two-stopping in this race. He's exited. He's just lost place to, was that Matt Clip? Whoa, that was close with Dowie Tapper. So indeed, Horrell comes out in 14th position. As Peter Schultz, I believe, also pitted there. But yeah, Ben Horrell there. Our first scheduled pit stopper from the top positions.
Just looking at Ben's pit stop there, we're looking at about a 26-27 second pit stop window there for anyone that's keeping track at home.
I'm afraid earlier on we lost Alistair Long. We saw that he'd had that incident, and it seems that a couple of laps ago, I think it was last lap actually, he retired from the race altogether. Didn't see if that was a separate incident or just continuing woes from earlier, but never mind. I'm afraid he's out of the race whatever way, and Alistair Long won't be contesting anymore in the rest of this race. But still, I'm surprised by how clean this race has been so far. This is Singapore, and we still have 25 of our 26 drivers remaining here, and I hope I haven't just cursed anything, but that's pretty decent.
Yeah, that is very good. Like I said at the start, I was expecting a turn 1 crash and playing it very nice and cleanly throughout the first 2-3 laps, to be honest. So well done on all the drivers, but now you're going to start seeing them get a little bit more hungry. You've already seen the spin outs, but the gap between different sections, like I'm just looking back now to Jason Muscat, all the way down in 19th. You can see the gap there, about 7 seconds, 7.5 seconds between... 6.5 seconds between him and Kuzmala, and you're starting to see these little groups.
Dan Brewer for third there, trying his move to the inside, and there's contact, and he loses it. He spins it around and gets it going again. He's still in 4th position, but that was a very clumsy sequence of events. Brewer went to the inside. That was legitimate. And then up ahead of him, Matt Richards just lost control and took off Daniel Brewer. So I'm afraid they came together there. Luckily, there was no further position loss for Dan Brewer, but just a little twitch from Matt Richards has really affected him there.
Yeah, just saw Adrian Faber as well go into the pits. No, it looks like that's a great name. That means he's retired from a race with fuel. Is he running out of fuel somehow?
Adrian Faber.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have done. That would be very unusual. But he is indeed out of this race. Now I don't know how that happened, and I'm not going back to check because I'd end up making the broadcast look very unprofessional. But yeah, if you could go back and have a look at how that actually happened, then that'd be very handy. Again, we're very close for the lead here. Less than well, just over 0.4 of a second as they cross the line. I still don't think that Winnick will be attacking Raw at this stage, but he's really not letting him get away. They're still very close here. But anyway, Winnick still holding behind him for now as they traverse the tricky streets of the Singapore street circuit, the Yas Marina Bay. It's a proper harbour section, well, a proper harbour setting, very much like Monaco, except slightly less luxurious.
What's wrong, Brewer? Just go back down, fight for fourth.
Oh gosh!
Oh, Brewer nearly once again going off in a spin, but he's held it and had to succumb to 5th place.
Brewer will be getting pretty annoyed with drivers crashing into him at that corner there. Let's go back and have a look at that before I have to go back too far. Brewer there. It seems that Roger went to the outside using the DRS and the slipstream and went around him. But again, they just came together as Roger ran over the curb. You have to say, though, this time it was more on Brewer's side than on Roger's. But still, they've got away with it, and Cameron Roger now is up into that 4th position.
Yeah, definitely need to make sure that you're giving space to your other drivers. So Brewer, maybe it's that frustration which is getting to him a little bit. He needs to cool it off, get back in the race. He's still in 5th, and there's a large gap between him and Pince's behind. So the 5th spot should be safe, and he needs to just look to make those lap times count as he catches back up to Roger.
Well, it'll be partly frustration and partly spoilt tyres, I expect. The tyres surely are quite flat-spotted after his spin last time around, and the rears won't be doing very well after that massive burnout either. So Brewer possibly having to drive pretty carefully at the minute. Oh, and Roger's been off.
Pitted, actually.
Yeah, Roger's been off again. So Daniel Brewer's pitted and Roger's been off. It looks as if he lost it all on his own on the curb going through turn 1. Had a big spin, a half spin, and got going again. Didn't lose a position, but I tell you what, that will effectively put Brewer a long way ahead. So that's an issue there for Cameron Roger as Brewer rejoins the pack now, and he is in 11th for now. He's actually come out behind Ben Horrell, so Ben Horrell has really gained in all of that, and now he's attacking Matthew Clipp. But yeah, Ben Horrell is now effectively ahead of Brewer in the order. Now, what tyres is Brewer on? Brewer is on the harder compounded tyre, so will Brewer be able to run to the end of the race? He might well be able to, and that would really benefit him over Ben Horrell, because Horrell will have to pit again, guaranteed.
Yeah, just watching him now on Matthew Clipp. He's just looking to line it up, try and make that speed. But you're talking about drivers that have made the most out of that mistake earlier. Adam Pince is up in 5th at the moment, only 2 seconds now, 1.5 seconds actually behind Cameron Roger. And so he's going to be licking his lips, because remember earlier, he is all the way down in 10th. He's making these mistakes count.
End of another lap. Neither of the Scuderia Basilea cars have pitted so far, and they're still extremely close together. What's the gap as they cross the line? It's still less than half a second. To be honest, I've got no idea how Winnick is following him this closely and maintaining his tyres, but Winnick has been just sticking to his rear end at the minute, being very loyal, not going for any lunges or anything like that. But of course, Ruhr will know that later on Winnick, I'm sure, will go for it, but I don't expect that'll be until at least the pit stages. Cameron Roger, incidentally, we saw him having that spin on the last lap. He's pitting. What tyres does he go onto? Those are the harder tyres. So Cameron Roger might well be trying to run to the end of the race from here, which is a differing strategy to his teammate Ben Horrell. Now he's going to come out a long way behind both Horrell and Brewer due to his spin. In fact, he's just coming out now behind Tommy Little, who hasn't yet pitted. So Roger rejoins the order, and he has a lot of work to do after that mistake.
Yeah, but you're talking about Ben Horrell, his teammate, and Ben's now coming down the back straight, looking to get ahead of Brewer. Can't unfortunately get the speed, but closes that gap. The two of them are now within, it's got to be 2 tenths of each other. Ridiculous.
Well, they've actually swapped places because Ben Horrell was ahead of Dan Brewer last time we looked. So Brewer has got ahead of Dan Horrell. Ben Horrell, since last time we looked at the two of those cars. And that's a swap for what could be effectively 3rd position in the end. So that's quite a significant one.
Looking as well, you can see these drivers like Craig up there into 6th. They're gaining these spots now. You've got to make the most out of this life of tyres. In case there's an accident later.
Yeah, you cut out slightly there, so I thought you'd finished. But anyway, Stefan Rohr into the pits. So Stefan Rohr, our previous race leader, has pitted. He will go on to the harder compounded tyre, so he will be attempting to run to the end of the race on this set. And Maciej Winnick, I can't imagine, will take much longer to pit. But look at the gap they built. They actually had so much of a gap that no one passed them. Well, actually, that's partly because both Matt Richards and Adam Pinchers pitted behind them. In fact, so did Craig Patterson and Sven de Vries. So a lot of drivers pitting here. And through go the 2 Scuderia Basilea cars. I've noticed they're actually both in the same car today, both in number 31, which is wrong. They shouldn't be. So someone's made a mistake there and got in the wrong car. But anyway, that's going to confuse things. Ben Horrell takes a look. I believe that within those two, it's Matthew Klipp ahead of Daniel Brewer still.
If it is, and Griniak will expect him to be coming into the pits on this lap, because him and his teammate have to be running the same strategy with how they've been driving. You know, Josh?
Yeah, certainly. I'd expect exactly that. Winnick and Rohl, they wouldn't have wanted to pit on the same lap though, because that would mean stacking the cars, which is against the rules. So that's why you're going to see them pitting on different laps. And I expect that Maciej Winnick will pit this time around. We'll have to see.
Yep, he's coming up to the final turn. There you have it, into the... These two, I'm just going to say, big brains on them for coming up with a strategy, which is just absolutely blowing everyone else out of the water.
Well, it's more like coming up with a car that's done that. They certainly seem to have the setup and the track absolutely nailed. They're 2 extremely quick drivers. And yeah, out of the pits now comes Maciej Winnick. Now, who will be ahead out of the 2 Scuderia Basilea cars? It looks as if it's going to be Maciej Winnick by a long way. I think he's really gained some time here. So Maciej Winnick, indeed, using one more lap on the softer compounded tyre, has jumped Stefan Rohr and taken the lead of this race. Our pole sitter has put in a flying lap, free from the dirty air of Stefan Rohr ahead of him, and still on the softer compounded tyre. And Maciej Winnick has taken the lead of this race through the pit stop strategy. It really worked out very well for Winnick, and he's going to extend his championship lead if they finish this way.
Yeah, we'll just see though, because Rohl was on that colder tyre as he came out of the pits, and now Winnick is on the colder tyres. Rohl's just starting to get them up to a temperature and hopefully be able to close that gap a little bit, because we would like to see a fight for first between these two, wouldn't we? Yeah, certainly. But out of the pits anyway comes, I think that's is that Matthew Klipp? Yes, it is Matthew Klipp now fighting alongside 3 wide actually with Tommy Little and the 44 of Cameron Roger. So they're side by side there, and to the inside is going to be Klipp. Roger goes tabs his rear end, and there are 2 cars off on the inside there. 2 cars off. One of them is a Simracing Holland driver. The other one is a Deltec, and that is it. Was the car? It's Gerber.
Patrick Gerber. So Patrick Gerber lost it over the curb, and who collected him? I'm struggling to figure it out without my overlay because I haven't. Can you work out who collected him there?
It's Sven de Vries has just gone off as well. There was a suspension issue.
Oh yeah, it was Sven de Vries, I think. Yeah, that was de Vries who collected, well, lost control over the curb and collected Patrick Gerber. I think that might be right. No, it can't be because Sven de Vries is out of the race. So apologies about this.
Yeah, I'm trying to look through the back now, just seeing who's had a little bit of damage, but I can't figure out. But it is all these cars just looking rather quite well. Alyssa Ferry is looking a little bit slow and wide for those turns, so it could well be her. We'll have to see. She is coming her way through the tunnel now. Maybe a pit stop. Yeah,
it was Lorenzo De Chutis who pits now. So Lorenzo De Chutis was involved there. Apologies, I couldn't quite work out who was driving that car there, but yeah, it was Lorenzo De Chutis involved. I should remind you that what you see on your screen is not what I'm seeing at the minute, so it's a little bit harder for me to work it out. But anyway, into the pits goes Lorenzo De Chutis, possibly to repair some damage. I'm afraid he took out one of the Deltec cars, Patrick Gerber.
Yep, I'm sure one of the racing directors will make a decision on that later. As we go on. It's just getting quite... It's incredible, the lead. 21 seconds between Renault and Brewer there. Brewer getting attacked here by Richards behind. And Horrell's not that far behind them as well, really.
Yeah, well, I just saw Horrell having a slight twitch out of the corner before and getting attacked himself by Cameron Roger. So they're quite close. I believe I miscalled a driver in the battle we just saw. I said someone was Cameron Roger, and I don't think it was. Now that I look back,
yeah.
But I think it might have been the other YTF1 car actually. So that would have been Johan Lindberg. So I don't really. Yeah, it was Lindberg. So I don't really know what I was looking at there. Apologies. I probably confused a couple of people. I confused myself more than anything, and this is why I don't normally do the cameras.
That's fine. You're doing a good job, buddy. Let's keep it up because, of course, a stream is better than no stream, eh?
I suppose so, but yeah, apologies for getting things wrong anyway. Yeah, but anyway, still close for third place. Daniel Brewer under real attack from Matt Richards. Richards had a couple of full-fledged attempts last lap, and I'm sure he's going for it again. He's got the DRS open as we go towards the corner where Brewer likes to attack, although he's too far back unless Brewer's going to overshoot it, which he doesn't. Matt Richards going to have to settle for fourth for now. As we go around another of Singapore's infamous 90-degree corners. Again, slipstreaming all the time, but not quite getting close enough. It's difficult to pull the final attack, especially when the straights aren't really that long.
No, they're quite short, and it's all down to the characteristics of these street circuits. 90-degree corners, so hard to attack on as well because that racing line is just so thin to even have two cars through.
Yeah, and the difficulty with that, of course, is that sometimes it can be just as quick to take a wide line in with a tight line out than a tight line in and a wide line out, which means that it's very difficult to attack because whatever you do, your opponent can always be almost as quick as you, and as a result, you have to do something a lot better than them to actually pull the overall move, if that makes any sense. But anyway, the slipstream certainly helps, and let's watch what Matt Richards can do as we go down the start-finish straight this time around. I don't think he'll be close enough yet again.
Again, DRS on this straight just a little bit too weak, but it's always after turn 5 into the Raffles Boulevard where that DRS is so key for making those overtakes. But unfortunately, Richards just seeming to slip out a little bit and will lose a couple of attempts, I believe.
Here we go. out of turn 5. The DRS opens on the back of Matt Richards' car. He's closer than he was last lap, and last lap he had a fully fledged attempt. What does he do this lap? He goes to the outside, and Matt Richards tries to cram 2 cars into one corner, and it doesn't work, and he has to run wide. So Matt Richards tried it, and it didn't quite work. And have a look at Cameron Roger. He's approaching fast from behind. Cameron Roger getting him, might well get involved soon, and actually looking at them now, that's Ben Horrell and not Cameron Roger, so apologies about that. I'm still getting Cameron Roger mixed up with other drivers. I bit just think that everyone's Cameron Roger today, but whatever the case, let's watch Roger and Rogerson as they slipstream down the straight.
Roger that, Josh.
Oh golly.
So going on, and of course, during all this fight between Brewer and Richards, Ben Horrell closed him down. Earlier on, he was about 2 seconds behind, and now he is within half a second. He is making the most out of this fight and making sure that he gets involved. Did try to have a little look on the inside there, but brought it on out. He's waiting for his opportunity to lunge in.
I'm afraid lunge might be too literal here. That tends to be how you do it at Singapore, but it certainly does rather annoy your opponents sometimes. But have a look at Ben Horrell here. Contact very slightly, but Horrell pulls out of the slipstream, tags the rear wheel of the YTF1 car, goes up the inside and makes it stick. Fantastic, but he's still there. Look at that. Still there. Although it's not quite going to work for Matt Richards, as Ben Horrell still has the inside line. He almost gave it back to him though. Had a slight twitch through turn 3. And now Matt Richards is going to attempt to, again, he's got a slight overspeed. And did he just tag the back of Ben Horrell's car? That was very close. He's going to have the outside line as we go towards the, I can't quite remember the corner name, but again he goes wide, runs out over the curb, and Ben Horrell has the place.
Yeah, we'll say though, big Ben Horrell during turn 3 tried to get back onto that racing line, but of course Matt Richards on the inside was covering it, took a big wide step out. These two drivers knowing massive respect for each other, not wanting to crash out.
Well, talking of that, I tell you what, they've been getting very close to each other's rear ends and a lot of twitching. Look at Roger, launches it. I told you lunge would be literal. I told you lunge would be literal, and he went for it, and he tapped the front of Matt Richards' car. Richards weaves now to make sure that the car's okay. And Roger, with a very aggressive move, has gone through into 6th position there, and Matt Richards will not be happy about that, I'm sure.
Yeah, risking it to take the biscuit, and Roger now has got the pressure from behind, because Matt Richards, of course, going to be a little bit angry to lose that place and will want to dive back in. Roger's just got to close that gap on Ben Horrell. He's been putting in those fast times, clean against the walls there, maybe a little bit too clean as he's quite out into the mid. Taking the wider line between them, trying to get as close to the wall as you can is how you maximise speed. And oh, was that Kosmala going into the pits?
Sebastian Kosmala pitting. I believe he started on the harder tyre, so Kosmala's done the entire race up until this point. I was wondering why he was running so high up the order all of a sudden. I saw him coming out of nowhere, and the reason for that is because he simply hadn't made a pit stop yet. So Kosmala now makes his pit stop, and the strategy will sort itself out. But as we've got about 13 laps remaining in this race, the fights all the way through the field are certainly not showing any signs of relenting. Now, will Matt Richards be equally as mean to Cameron Roger? I tell you what, I would be.
Oh, looking to get that place back. Roger just, it was almost so slight. Was Richards and Horrell getting caught up, and then Roger just sort of like sneaking his way on in to join his teammate and close out Richards there.
Yeah, but try telling Matt Richards that after the race, I'm sure. Well, there's the corner. Look at that! Oh, there's contact, and he's gone through. But they're still locked together. They've got going again, but my goodness. Well, Matt Richards gives the place straight back to him there. And you see Roger weaving quite vigorously there to try to make sure the suspension is intact. But I told you that he might go for a move that was just as mean or more mean, and I tell you what, that was never on there for Matt Richards. I'm sort of wondering whether he never actually meant to go for the place in the first place. It may have been that he just locked the tyres up and slid in. And talking of that, Cameron Roger almost did exactly the same thing to the barrier there. They're still sliding about like rally drivers here as they lap the Singapore Grand Prix circuit. I tell you what, this is more like the X Games than GPVWC.
Yeah, I was going to say, these lads, I think they might have been playing a bit of dirt round beforehand. Unfortunately, they got their mindset wrong. And it's all about that over-aggression sort of into it. Can see a lot of smoke coming out over those curbs as well for Roger, who's going out wide. Maybe a little bit of damage to those tyres after the collision between the two.
More slipstreaming going on now. Can Matt Richards do it cleanly this time? He's still too far back, but surely it won't be long before something else happens. Something is always happening in this race and in the GPVWC and in simulator racing on a street circuit in general. Just keep watching, and more will happen. Look at that! The rear tyres laying down roads of rubber there, ribbons of rubber as he goes through the corner. I saw that in reality earlier, actually, when I was coming home from college. There's sort of like this tiny little road on the outside with basically no one on it. This Jaguar came tearing around the corner, leaving genuine ribbons of rubber on the road. It was really quite ridiculous, actually.
Yep, but unfortunately, I'm sure you didn't see that Jaguar going sideways through the corner like you saw Matt Richards earlier, so... another day, eh?
Well, I'm glad about that, seeing as it was outside of college, but never mind. So through the final sector, we're still watching Ben Horrell here as he is chasing down Daniel Brewer. I'm going to have a look at the gaps as they cross the start-finish line this time around. For some reason, the gaps weren't showing correctly on my live timing screen. Oh, and Brewer's pitted. Daniel Brewer's just pitted. So Daniel Brewer there has pitted. Obviously, his tyres weren't going to last the entire way through the race, and now he gets going again. So Daniel Brewer there losing several places, and he's just dropped as well behind. Well, that would have been Adam Pinchers there. And talking of Pinchers, he just set the fastest third sector of the race. So Pinchers still flying, and in fact, there goes the other Scuderia Clay Geely car of Matt Clip, who now gets boxed up, and look at the big power slide there, the big power slide behind, and that would have been Dowie Tapper, who's now on the outside of Clip, goes around the outside and spins, and there's contact, goes into the barrier, facing backwards on the track, and that was pretty messy there. As we go side by side again, is that Sebastian Kosmala? It is, on the inside of Johan Lindberg, going through into 11th position.
Yeah, unfortunate there for Tapper. Was getting a bit over aggressive and knew he didn't have the best control of his car going through. And just looking at it from the perspective of Brewer there, he only did 10 laps on that second set of tyres. He's gone through 2 softs and gone to a third. So he needs to start picking up the pace massively and getting those overtakes to make the most out of his strategy.
There are 2 types of strategies in this race. There's one where you know your tyres are not going to last, so you go for a 2-stop right from the start, or you try to make the harder compounded tyre work and do a 1-stop strategy. Of course, the second one's more difficult to actually pull off, but the first one might well be the most difficult to make work quickly. Talking of that, into the pits comes Ben Horrell. So we saw him battling. He wasn't battling for effective positions, and we knew that already because we saw earlier that he did not trial the harder tyre. Now he goes onto the harder tyre. He's going to be dropping down the order. And, oh, as across the chicane cuts, that would have been Ben Schupanek. We've now got Cameron Roger in third from Matt Richards. But will either of these drivers need to stop again?
Be interesting as well, because just looking at it, it looks like roughly that softer tyre. If you know you're not spinning out like a couple of these lads have, that must mean that they plan to spend 21 on that harder tyre. Questions being asked if the harder tyre can last it. Once again, because of all these little accidents, all this speed, the two up front have now got a 36.5-second lead. And it's all because they're pretty much so cleanly, they're not having to get involved, are they?
What's that, sorry?
Am I cutting out?
No, I just was not concentrating. I was reading YouTube comments.
I was saying that because of all these accidents going on between these drivers, all this fighting, that the two Scuderia Basileas up front are just getting basically so much free room. You can even see there, Renault just with a little bit of a mistake going sliding through turn number 3, but it's not going to hurt him at all.
Well, they can afford to make mistakes with a 38-second gap. It is now 38 seconds. That really came out in the middle part of this this race, and it tends to be the case with the Scuderia Basilea guys. They tend to get a 1-2 in race 1. Race 2, though, will certainly be a different story. Remember, because that has a reversed grid. The grid will be partially reversed, and as a result, they will have to fight their way through from a couple of places down, so they will certainly have to fight for that one. But this one, yeah, they've just been running away from it in true Scuderia Basilea style. Last season, looking at them,
just saying they are on that hot time where we're seeing the guys behind them going for the 2-stop softs. So we'll have to see coming into the last, say, 6 laps, what the true difference is between them.
of course, Scuderia Basilea, in their first season of Supercup here, they moved up from Formula Challenge last season, won that last season with Maciej Winnick, plus a second seat that was very much open and contested between different drivers. But yeah, they won that championship, and they've progressed to Supercup for this season, and it looks to me like they're going to dominate it. So it might well be that they progress to Super League for next season. That'd be fantastic to see. And I tell you what, it's almost undoubtedly going to be Maciej Winnick and Stefan Roll driving for them.
Wouldn't it be amazing if they did the triple, winning all 3 leagues after year, season after season? If they could do that, Brewer just getting side by side with Patterson, does take it on the inside. That's Brewer now going up into 5th.
Let's have a look at that from on board Daniel Brewer. He left it late on the brakes. Actually left it to... Oh yeah, did leave it brake actually, and karting styled it in with the rear end hanging out. The tail trying to wag the dog, and it made it, and it worked. And Daniel Brewer is now up into 5th position, past Craig Patterson in the Multiforce GP number 77. Multiforce, of course, is one team which hasn't had any consistent drivers since the start of the year. It's had drivers flying all over the place and, you know, flying in and out of that seat. We started off the season with the clear... Well, the team boss Jason Muscat was sure that it was going to be Matthew Marquardt in the 77 and Fabian Ruder in the 44, and it was for the first few races of the season before both drivers ended up getting replaced. And now it's Craig Patterson in one of the cars, and actually Jason Muscat himself in the other one, running in 15th position.
Yeah, Jason Muscat, good driver, just to get consistent points, essentially. Not going in for anything fancy, not going to be able to get the top points today. Craig Patterson, though, on the Monday Night Touring car, coming out with a 2nd place in the sprint, of course, ahead of Muscat, who did come in 3rd in the end. And we had a little interview with him. You were in there with us.
Yeah, it was a very fun race.
So, yeah, it was a fun race, and of course, Craig getting picked up for his skill on that.
Yeah, certainly. I had a great battle with Craig, actually, on Monday. We're talking about the WCS League McGann series, by the way. A very, very entertaining racing series. Yeah, I was defending from Craig Patterson for something like 20 laps or so. Well, it wouldn't have been that, but it was something like 20 minutes that we were fighting for. And he was so aggressive, but... yeah, he eventually got through and finished ahead of me, and absolutely deserved it as well. Great racer, he is. I was going to say, though, I've seen a lot better from Jason Muscat. You said it was a good drive from him, and indeed he is going to score points if he finishes like this. He's going to finish in 14th place. But let's face it, we're talking about a Super League race winner here. That is like... you know, that's like someone like Valtteri Bottas going back to Formula 2 and finishing 14th. It just, yeah, it's a little bit disappointing from Jason Muscat, but maybe he just didn't get enough practice for this race.
Yeah, definitely. I saw earlier today. It was the drivers that I saw, like Mark Fuller, unfortunately couldn't get it on in. Just looking now as well, Matt Richards putting in a lot of time earlier, but looking now, we have lost 7 drivers from this race. The caster's curse from you is definitely kicking in now, Josh.
What's that? Oh, yeah.
Saying your caster's curse kicking in, buddy. 7 have dropped on out, unfortunately.
Looks like it. I said it had been a very clean race earlier on, and indeed it had been up until that point. But anyway, we've just seen a battle on track between Matthew Klipp and... is that... No, I don't think it was. I'm trying to work out who that actually was. Was that Daniel... Ben Horrell was involved, so I'm looking at that part in the order. It was Horrell, Kosmala and Klipp for 8th, 9th and 10th. And they came out with Kosmala actually leading the 3 of them there. So a battle going on further down the order, and it took me a very long time to work out who it was actually between. Let's have a look though at Cameron Roger and Matt Richards. They're still absolutely glued together as they come out of this final corner here, and the gap as they cross the start finish line will be absolutely nothing. Indeed, it's less than 4/10 of a second. These two are in fully fledged attack mode here, with Matt Richards on the back. Oh, and a big slide from Cameron Roger. Cameron Roger lights up the rear tyres. He loses the momentum, however, somehow doesn't lose the place. However, Matt Richards is going to get the DRS down this straight. Look at that. Matt Richards going to the right-hand side, I think, unless he can force his way through on the inside. But Cameron Roger keeps the place for now. Richards again to the outside. He has to get the switch back here. There's no way he's going to get through there. Oh, and Roger there very nearly kicks around. Goodness, this is very tense for 3rd position. Slight twitch from Matt Richards, and Roger and Richards getting too close for comfort, sliding about. The rear ends, I think, have kicked out on both of them while they're side by side, and well, that's pretty unnerving.
Yeah, but you got to look with all those little spin outs earlier. They'd be a little bit more careful here, and Bent Sapinek has unfortunately had to retire as well. Oh, no. Dropped out. This is just traditional Singapore, really, isn't it, with this number of dropouts?
Well, that's drama for Ben Stupanek. He's 3rd in the championship, and I'm afraid he's now out of this race. If I can be slightly unprofessional for a minute, I'm going to go back and find how that's actually happened. Oh, it's an engine failure. There is smoke at the back of that car. He's overheated it, and I'm afraid that's race over from for Ben Stupanek, who's fighting for 3rd in this championship, and is 3rd in the championship at the minute. And I'm afraid he's going to be losing a lot of points from this. How disappointing!
Oh, Ben Horrell's just gone out with an engine failure as well, so that makes 9. Ben was right up there contesting, and unfortunately is going to have to lose with no points here.
Goodness gracious, we've had 2 engine failures in the space of a lap here to 2 very competitive contenders. That's dramatic. Now, who else will this affect? We saw an incident in Baku where suddenly everyone seemed to have a brake failure, and there were cars going off at the end of straights all over the place because there were drivers having brake failures. Are we going to get a very similar thing here, but with engine failures? I very much hope not. It seems that maybe some drivers just haven't put enough radiator in that car, or maybe they're revving it too high. Whatever the case, engines are now expiring, and we've got Stupanek out, and we've got Horrell out. Alyssa Ferry is out, but I don't know whether that was an engine failure or not. I've only just noticed that.
Yeah, it was an engine failure.
It was, goodness gracious. Now, what about Sandeep Choda? Didn't see him go. Oh, look, hold on. Matt Richards has spun. Matt Richards has nosed into the wall. He was fighting for 3rd, and it looks as if he just lit up the rear tyres, trying to get a good line, trying to attack Cameron Roger, and he's lost control. And although he hasn't lost a position out of all of that, he's not going to be finishing 3rd today unless anything else happens. So Matt Richards there, throwing away any chance he might have had of a podium.
and keep this 4th position with that damage he would sustain, because Brewer is behind him 5th and is only 3 seconds shy. We've got 5 laps here, maybe even coming down to 4 now. See how this unfolds.
Well, I don't think he'll have any severe damage from that. He only nosed it into the wall, and his nose doesn't appear to be damaged, so I think he'll be okay. The suspension didn't appear to make contact with anything, and I'd be very surprised if the game would have registered suspension damage out of that, so he should be okay. I'm more worried about his tyres.
Yeah. Those tyres happen to spin out like that, and clearly he is coming down to the last little bit of life in them, and he's got to make them last. Going over these curbs as well, he's got to be shaking in his boots here.
Yes, certainly. With only a couple of laps to go now, we're going to have Daniel Brewer absolutely fired up behind him. He'll see his opportunity. However, the gap is 3.1 seconds, so he needs to gain just over 3 seconds per lap here if he wants to get 4th position off Matt Richards. And to be honest, that seems to be pretty impossible unless Matt Richards makes another mistake. His car surely won't be affected quite that much, but I've seen more dramatic and more unusual things than that before, so it's not completely unlikely. Just seen Sebastian Kosmala there slightly tagging the wall. He's having a good race though. He's up into 8th position, and he's on a different strategy to everyone else as well, because he started right from the back of the grid on the harder compound of tyre, and he's used that to his advantage, and it looks as if he's going to finish in the top 8. So a good race from Sebastian Kosmala. That's one drive that shouldn't go unnoticed.
Yeah, definitely though, keep an eye, because he could reach 6th. Remember, he's on that slightly softer tyre, and so will have the pace you would imagine here, unless he is really conserving them. Going very, very in there. He's having a think about it, trying to take it past Pinces, but no, they're still both stuck behind Craig Patterson in that Malta force.
Patterson, Pinches and Kosmala, those are the 3 drivers we're watching now in order from first to from 6th to 8th, and we only now have 3 laps to go in this race. Well, 4 if you count this one.
It gives them, because of course that big distance to the leaders, so they've gone into next lap, of course, so that's how it ticks the tracker. That's what I want to say.
Well, incidentally, everyone down to 14th. Oh, I believe we've just lost Lorenzo De Chutis as well. Can you have a look at whether that was another engine failure? I'm a bit worried about that. But have a look at Adam Pinches as he took a small look at Craig Patterson, and now to the outside goes Kosmala. Again, it's the accordion effect. If one driver makes a mistake and 2 drivers are following him, those drivers are just going to get squashed together, and if they don't have their wits about them, they're going to make contact. They're at least going to overlap. And Kosmala saw his opportunity to get past Pinches there and attacked, but couldn't quite make it stick. Apparently it was another engine failure for Lorenzo De Chutis. That means that every driver who finishes the race from now on will score points, so it's definitely worth making it to the flag here. And looking through the order as well, I believe Jason Muscat just lost a place to Dowie Tapper for 12th position.
He's looking to claim it back though, so maybe just keep an eye on him, as that is a little battle. So we near enough have 2 battles going on here. The battle for 6th, 7th and 8th, and then of course 13th and 12th. And
in fact, where actually that's a glitch there. Oh no, it isn't. I'm reading the timing screen wrong, so ignore me. I read that the gap between Brewer and Patterson was 0.8 seconds when it was actually 8.8 seconds. It's just that the 8 looks very much like a 0 when you're not wearing your glasses. But anyway, so 3 laps to go now. We are very close to the end of this race, and it's still Maciej Młynek leading from Stefan Roll, Cameron Roger, Matt Richards, Daniel Brewer, Craig Patterson, Adam Pinches, Sebastian Kosmala, Matthew Klipp, Johan Lindberg, Tommy Littelo, Dowie Tapper, Jason Muscat, Jack Mayer and Mark Fuller. Those are the drivers still running, but have a look back at the Pinches versus Patterson battle, and Pinches has to settle for the place 7th place again. But if that one's still very, very hotly contested. Look at that, big slide from Pinchas, very nearly collided with Sebastian Kosmala, who takes 7th. Kosmala is through. Now what can Kosmala do about attacking Craig Patson in the later stages of this race? Will there be another change? Patson is his next target.
Pinchas is sliding there a little bit as well. You can see he's wanted that space back. And unfortunately, just losing him time. Patson, just look how clean he's driving here. He's not going for the fastest speed. He's just making sure he doesn't spin out and hand over this place, because he's pretty safe here with his defending.
We are on the penultimate lap of the race now, but watch Sebastian Kosmala. He's been released. Remember that because of his strategy, he's on fresher tyres than both of these other drivers, so he will theoretically be the quickest driver in this fight here, possibly even one of the quickest drivers on track when he's in clean air, and he wants that clean air. He wants to get past Craig Patson and extend, just get away. He has 2 laps left to do it in, as the leaders are fast approaching the final lap of the race now. But indeed, this battle is certainly not over yet, and Kosmala in the Thunderdog car will surely be going for it on this final lap, on this penultimate lap of the race rather. What can he do with the slipstream here, with the DRS? What can he do with the straight?
Also looking at Daniel Brewer's got half a second of Matt Richards.
Yeah, he's got it. Look,
1 lap to pull
Kosmala's got it. He's gone through into 6th. He used the slipstream and he got past Craig Patson on the straight, and Sebastian Kosmala is up into 6th place. I knew that would happen, and he's just going to get away now, unless Patson can do anything quickly. But indeed, Sebastian Kosmala on the fresher tyres, on the alternate strategy, has gone through into 6th position to complete what has been a fantastic drive for him, as the leaders are now on the final lap of this race. The Scuderia Basilea cars are on the final lap of this race, and they have a 51.9 second advantage over anyone else. The gap between them being almost 4 seconds now, as Raw was slower on the last lap.
Of course, you got to remember, with this win for Milniak, he will extend his lead over and rivals. So I think they're pretty happy with that result. You can see time's just sort of sloping off there from Renier.
Yeah, I think Ruel's just given up at this point in the race. He knows that Winnick has got it. They are both losing a bit of time here, but it really doesn't matter because the race is coming to a close, and really they just have to coast it back now. Oh, and we've lost Dan Brewer. It's an engine failure. I'm afraid we have lost Dan Brewer from 5th position, and that's dreadful for one of our top drivers. Again, I can't believe we've lost another one due to the engine failure. These drivers are going to have to do something different with their radiators for the final race, or just something like that. Whatever the case, engine failures galore in the last stages, and Daniel Brewer, a very quick driver and a previous race winner, I'm afraid, is out of this race. Now, through the final sector, through the final corner, comes Maciej Winnick to win race 1 here at Singapore. Maciej Winnick extends his championship lead. He wins. Stefan Roll dropped a long way off, and he's going to finish 2nd. The gap in the end being a margin of 6.098 seconds. Cameron Roger has to defend from Matt Richards, who's caught right back up to him.
Yep, still though, half-second gap. It would take a miracle now for Richards to get on through. He will try, of course. Coming into the last sector.
Tell you what a comeback from Matt Richards. If he hadn't had that incident earlier on, there's no doubt that he'd be a long way ahead of Cameron Roger at this stage. But he's been utterly fired up since that incident, and I don't think he's going to get an opportunity to go for 3rd. And he's not. He's going to spin. Ooh. Goodness. Well, he saved it, but it was a big slide, and I'm afraid he's lost 3rd position. I don't think he was going to get it anyway. Cameron Roger is 3rd. Cameron Roger finishes 3rd. 4th is not Dan Brewer. Dan Brewer's out. That was Matt Richards in 4th. Yeah. And 5th, with a great drive from the back of the grid, is going to be Sebastian Kosmala.
Yep. Kosmala in 5th, Patson coming across in 6th. Matthew Klipp gonna hold off against Lindberg in 8th.
Yeah, he dropped a long way back there, Matthew Klipp, but defends from Johan Lindberg to claim 7th place. 8th was Lindbergh. 9th is going to be Tommy Olitalo in the Green Stripes car. The other Green Stripes car, of course, Ben Schupanek, unfortunately had a retirement, but Olitalo there finishes 9th. 10th is going to be Dowie Tapper, who's had his fair share of incidents in this race. Couple of spins, hit the barrier a couple of times, and Dowie Tapper is 10th. And we've had a couple of retirements as Pinchers and Brewer. Well, we know that Brewer didn't make the finish, but neither did Pinchers.
Yeah, and of course there's Muscat. Jack Mayer just going into the pits as well. I don't know what has just happened there.
I think Mayer may have finished. Mayer may have finished a lap down. So anyway, that's the end of the race. It was Munich who won from Ruel, Roger, Richards, Kosmala, Patterson, Klipp, Lindbergh, Olitalo, Tapper, Pinchers, Brewer, Muscat, Mayer, and Fuller. Brewer, of course, will be classified because he finished in. Well, he did enough laps to be classified 10th. And he will still get, or 12th rather, and he will still get the points from that. Then we have our retirements our retirements out of the points, and those are Lorenzo De Chutis, Ben Horrell, Ben Schupanek, probably the most significant retirement as far as the championship goes. Alyssa Ferry, rather. Sandy Choder, Bastian Peisler, Patrick Gerber, Sven de Vries, Peter Schultz, Adrian Faber, and Alistair Long. 26 drivers started this race, 15 drivers finished. In the end, it did turn out to be a race of attrition after all, but due to mechanical issues rather than accidents. And well, although it was pretty dominated out in front by the Scuderia Basilea guys, Winnick certainly had to fight for that, getting ahead with the strategy. And that was a very good drive from Macho Winnick.
Yeah, and you say 15 surviving it. You got to remember Adam Pinces and Daniel Brewer getting on that last lap, the engine failures.
Oh yeah, well I suppose 15 will be classified, but it could be as low as 12 or 13 that actually survived it.
So what do you think that comes down to then, Josh? Where the track temperatures are only at 28°C, so the lads just not setting up their cars right, just not putting that time into the free practices before.
Yeah, that's got to be it. I'm sure that every driver who retired from this race must not have been able to do a full race stint in practice. Every driver who retired due to engine failures. But it appears that, well, either they just haven't put enough radiator in their cars, or they've been over-revving it. It's actually easier to over-rev an engine in an actual race than in a race stint, which might have affected this, because your engine tends to over-rev sometimes if you're running in the slipstream of your car ahead. It automatically means the engine revs higher, and as a result, sometimes you can end up losing out on the engine wear. But yeah, it's a very weird one, and I hope that the drivers get it sorted for race 2.
Yeah, can you imagine that coming into race 2? Some sort of like rat rod style, just holding the top of the hood for the engine, of course, back saying hood chassis in the back. Just try and get as much air into that engine as possible. Call it.
Yeah, just cut a hole in it.
Yeah. So, can you run us through the wins again?
through the what, sorry?
The race list. The leaderboard again for us.
Okay, so at the end of all of that, it was Macho Winnick who won it after an hour and 3 minutes of racing. That was the longest race that you will get on this calendar. Singapore always has the longest feature-length race, and that was an hour and 3 minutes. And following him was Stefan Roll. The session has just changed over,
yep.
But you know the order. I've read it out a couple of times. We're now going for a quick break, which I think I very much need, as I forgot to bring a drink up with me, and then we will be back in about 5 minutes for race 2 with a partially reversed grid. So don't go anywhere. It's going to be exciting. Hello everyone and welcome back to Singapore for the GPVWC Supercup. This will be race 2 from Singapore. Maciej Winnick won race 1. He's extended his championship lead by 5 points over Stefan Roll. The gap is now 13 points between the two of them. And that was done through a pretty great drive with a good bit of strategy as well. Of course, the race started with qualifying, where Maciej Winnick took pole position with a blistering lap. That was 1-0 to Maciej. Stefan Roll got the better start and got ahead of Maciej, making the score 1-1 before Maciej responded in the pit stages and jumped him with the pit stop, getting ahead and winning the race. 2-1 was the final score. What can happen in race 2?
Yeah, we have to find out. Just looking back over the results, I'd say a couple of big winners, of course, and it's all just down to those loss of drivers. The engine failure is just rampant. Hopefully, with this short of race, we shouldn't see so many of them, as of course all those engine failures happened after about the halfway mark, which, this being a sprint race, is only half the distance. How many laps are we looking at here, Josh?
So for the sprint race, we're looking at... Actually, let me just look at what we're looking at. We're looking at 20 laps. 20 laps. Yeah, so there's going to be 20 laps for this this sprint race, and the reverse grid number is 10, which means the top 10 drivers are going to be reversed for this race, and that means that the driver who finished 10th in race 1, Douwe Tapper, will be starting on pole position. Tapper starts first, followed by Tommy Litterlow, and then Johan Lindberg, Matthew Klipp, Craig Patterson, Sebastian Kosmala, Matt Richards, Cameron Roger, Stefan Rohr, Maciej Winnick, Adam Pinchers, Daniel Brewer, Jason Muscat, Jack Mayer, Mark Fuller, Lorenzo De Chutis, Ben Horrell, Ben Schupanek, Alyssa Ferry, and Sandeep Choda, and only you can see the rest.
Well, after Choda, you have got Bastian Paisler in 21st, Van der Veers at 22nd, Piers Schwalz in 21st. 24th, and Alistair Long. Oh, that initial crash, spectacular to see. Luckily though, he's got the car up and running here for the second race, the sprint, and he's going to be back the grid at 25th.
So here's Tapper rounding the grid to the start line. At the back here is the other Thunderdog car of Alistair Long. Thunderdog, of course, with a capital TH and U. It actually stands for Team Hoekstra Underdog. As it's run, it's the team run by one of the Hoekstras. I think it's Rienk Hoekstra, because Wopke Hoekstra owns CM Tech, which runs in Formula Challenge. But yeah, correct me if I'm wrong there. So anyway, to the grid we go through the final sector, and Douwe Tapper will line up first on the grid. Alongside him will be Tommy Litterlow, and then Lindberg and Klipp. Just looking back at the cars, so I know what they we all know what they look like. There's Craig Patterson, followed by Sebastian Kosmala, then Richards, Roger, Ruol, and Winnick. They make up the top 10 of this order. So look out definitely for the Scuderia Basilea cars. They're going to have to fight their way through in this race. It's not going to be a straightforward domination like race 1 was. This one they're truly going to have to contest for, and watch to see which of the two of them will come through the fastest.
So what strategies do you think, Josh, we're going to be having here between those two Scuderia Basileas? Do you think they're going to just try and lunge off each other and make sure to make the most out of that DRS?
I think with the Scuderia Basileas, we saw, especially in race 1, it tends to be that they only tend to overtake each other at the start. So I think that if they are going to fight, it all has to be at the start of the race, and after that they're just going to be helping each other through the order and possibly swapping if they need to. Now watch the lights. When we have 5 lights, we'll be underway. and go! Away we go, and it's a good start from Dowie Tapper. Tapper leads off the line. Watch Roger getting crowded across by Richards in the background, and I believe there's going to be slight contact there. In fact, there is, and around goes Kosmala. Kosmala is in the barrier, and there's a sort out in the back of the pack. Someone gets spun around. I think that was Jack Mayer. Jack Mayer getting flicked up and spun around in the pack, as well as, was that Alyssa Ferry? I think it may have been.
Oh, big hit here, going into turn number 5. Oh. Okay. Still, collateral damage continues.
And Winnick was involved. Winnick was involved with who's that? Daniel Brewer, I think, was in it, as well as one of the TG Racing guys. That would have been. I'm not entirely sure, and there's more contact and more carnage. Oh, big flick up in the air, and Horrell is involved, as is pretty much everyone behind him. I'm trying to pick out cars in that mess. Alistair Long is involved, as is one of the Deltec cars. That'll be.
You're looking at Faber, you're looking at Jack May, you're looking at Paisley, just coming in very late, bad to break, and of course Fuller as well. Lots of accidents here. People just still rolled up after that first race.
I'm afraid this is a much messier start to the race than we saw in race 1, and already Dowie Tapper's getting a long way ahead in the lead. If something happens, I'd like you to pick out which drivers are involved, seeing as you can see that and I can't in this race. But anyway, up in front it's Tapper from Lindbergh, then Little, Patterson and Richards. Those are the top 5 after all of this, and the top Scuderia Basilea car is Stefan Rohr in 7th, as Winnick's lost a place and gone down to 11th in all of this. So, a big sort out at the start of the order, and several guys have dropped behind. Matthew Clipp, I'm afraid, is already out of the race. He's been affected quite badly by this. So we've lost Matthew Clipp. He's our only true retirement so far, but we may well see more cars coming into the pits here.
Yeah, we can only thank our lucky stars for the damage reduction in these cars, because if this was real F2, I think we might have seen half the grid removed from that first lap, eh?
Yeah, quite possibly. I'm afraid it was very, very messy, and these drivers certainly not being quite as aware as they should be. Now watch Matt Richards and Cameron Roger going side by side. Roger gets the outside line and goes round him. Cameron Roger going round him. That's the corner where the two of them came together in race 1. But luckily no repetition of that. It looks as if there may have been, but Roger gets through cleanly into 5th position for now, and his next target up ahead of him is Craig Patterson. Craig Patterson, whoa, sliding from Roger, but makes it into the corner. Now he doesn't make that one. Wow, very sideways, and through goes Matt Richards. That was very hairy. I'm not quite sure how he managed to save that, but he did. And now he's going to come under attack from Stefan Rohr.
Yeah, expect him. You can see Roger's still hungry for it. He keeps going out wide. He's got to be careful, because after all that sliding about, those tyres have got to start getting shot. I reckon he's going to have to play us as a one-pit race.
Well, I don't think we're going to be seeing any pit stops in this race if drivers can stay at the entire time. To be honest, I'm quite surprised to see people starting on the softer compounder tyre. Maybe we will see some drivers pitting. We do sometimes see them pitting in the sprint race, but it doesn't tend to be the quickest strategy. Well, we'll see. But anyway, another big slide from Cameron Roger. Again, a big twitch, but he corrects it on the exit. That rhymed surprisingly well. But anyway.
Yeah, just having a look ahead, and you can see the drivers from first all the way up to Craig Patterson in 4th, who is having an outstanding day, of course, being able to navigate through all of that carnage, just being a step in for Malta Force, and already in 4th in this sprint.
Yeah, that's Craig Patterson in 4th position. He's done a couple of races for various teams this season with the GPVWC, but doing a good job for Multiforce so far. He certainly hasn't done the full season with them. And here at Singapore, running in 4th position, he had a decent first race, but now he's under attack from Matt Richards. He's going to have to hold him off. I've seen that Craig Patterson's great at defending, well, at attacking rather, but is he as good at defending? We're about to find out.
Yep. And look, straight behind Cameron Roger is looking to get in on that action, and Stefan behind, just playing it a bit cautiously. You can't blame him as well, but Miniak all the way back, has climbed back up to 10th, and that would be good as he's trying to fight and catch up with Daniel Brewer.
And Roger now has joined the fight with Richards and Patterson. It's a chain of 3 at the minute, with Stefan not far behind them. So a chain of 4 more than anything. Stefan Ruhl running 7th at the minute, but this is a great chance for Stefan to gain points over Maciej, the 2 championship rivals. And Ruhl is a long way ahead of Munich so far in this race, so this is a great opportunity for him, and we'll see what he can make of this, if anything. I think if anyone's going to make a move on this lap, it might well be Matt Richards here, who's been probably the most spoken about driver in both of these races so far. Always in the action, and now he's going to be in more of it as he opens the DRS.
Yeah, and then you got to think as well, back with Stefan Ruhl, maybe try and just get a little cut and capitalise upon these moves to get that lead. He's already 4 seconds ahead of his teammate, and here, if we can just through the 3, he could gain massive points.
Oh, and I believe we've had a little sort out behind. I saw the order change briefly. I think Brewer just passed the Tutis. That may have been what just happened. I certainly see that Winnick hasn't changed positions, but yeah, little sort out there.
Winnick is trying to get past the Cheetahs though, so expect that to change as well. I'd probably say keep on board with Patterson, Matt Richards and Cameron Rogers, as Rogers is getting right up into the back end of Matt Richards there. These 3, this looks more like a boxing match between them.
I'm afraid we've lost Peter Schultz from this race, as well as Ben Horrell, who we saw getting involved in the opening instance, but still 22 drivers running from the 25 starters, so 1 driver from race 1 didn't turn up for race 2. But anyway, as we're... Oh, slight contact with the wall there. Cameron Roger getting it slightly wrong and tagging the wall through the swimming pool section. Well, reminiscent of the swimming pool section from Monaco, that section is. But yeah, slightly tags the wall, and now he might come under attack from Stefan Ruhl as we head down the start-finish straight this time around. Tommy Little really not too far ahead of this group either. It's from...
I was going to say that, buddy. You with the swim pool section, I'm pretty sure there's not any around. We know we've got cricket pitches, but not swim pools. You're getting a little mixed up with Monaco.
I know. It's more like a harbour, which is also very much like Monaco. But to be honest,
just a big swim pool. That's it.
Absolutely. Watch Matt Richards now. If I can ever get his name out, he's going around the outside of Craig Patterson. Will he make this stick? He runs out over the curb slightly. He's still on the inside, but he has to back off now. Cameron Roger gets... Oh, that was very close. Gets locked together with the rear end of Matt Richards' car, and they're going side by side again. And look at Stefan Ruhl trying to squeeze between them. Although has to let them go as Roger goes through, and there's contact. They bang wheels once, twice, and go off. Around goes Cameron Roger. He gets going again behind Brewer, but what a disappointing spin there for Cameron Roger, who's now side by side with, is that Bastian Paisler going through the left-hander. It's actually Lorenzo De Chutis there. And De Chutis has to drop behind him. But yeah, Winnick goes through, Brewer goes through, as does Richards and Ruhl. In fact, Ruhl got past Richards and all of that as well, so a big sort out, and very disappointing from Cameron Roger.
Well, he's only got himself to blame, and now he's got to work to get himself back in. The spin, of course, hurting those tyres, and as we keep continuing, I'm just going to say it, that one pit stop is looking quite likely with some of these cars, because remember, they are using that softer compound, and of course, that where it might be better just to claim that time back with some really fast laps.
It might well be, but we'll have to see how it plays out. We're 6 laps in at the minute. I can imagine that all drivers who started on the harder compound tyre went in with the intention of not stopping. So I think if we are going to see any stops, it'll have to be from...
They were the smart boys today.
Yes, so it'll have to be from Roger, Jupanek, Muscat, Long or De Vries. But to be honest, I expect the majority of drivers to stay out. Now, as we're just watching, still Craig Patterson on the back of Tommy Little. That's that's a fight that's been closing up. The gap less than 0.7 of a second through the last split. And I'm sure it won't be long before Stefan Rohr gets onto the back of them too. Now he's released from Matt Richards. So Rohr approaching. Current update with the championship leaders. Rohr is 5th and Winnick is 8th. So Rohr will be gaining a couple of points back on Winnick at this rate. And those two, of course, the championship rivals, but also teammates. And it's certainly between the two Scuderia Basilea drivers, the championship at the end of this season. But still, Rohr catching up to the back of Patterson's car as we head under the grandstand and out under the GPVWC advertising boardings. Watch Littleout and Patterson, followed by Rohr, Richards, Brewer, Winnick, Roger, DeTutis, Pinchers. It's a long line after them as you see them approach, or coming out the final corner, and there may be a move going on as side by side slightly there go Pinchers and is that DeTutis? It is. DeTutis runs wide though and over the over turn 2, and Pinchers claims 10th place for now.
The big question here, and the big sort of like one to look at, is Lyric is catching up on his rival, on his teammate. They're now only within 2 seconds of each other. 4 laps ago, that was about double the gap. So all this havoc going on there up ahead, you know, Cameron Roger has been out, has slowed the pack down slightly, and Lyric is catching up, which is quite amazing to see because we still have a good 14 laps to go.
Well, again, it's the accordion effect. The whole pack is compressing behind Yelitalo, and Yelitalo back to Winnick is just one long line now, and that means that the gaps are closing between all of these drivers here, and the gap between the two Scuderia Basilea drivers is down simply because the two drivers between them are closer together now. So we certainly have a fight in our hands now, and Tommy Yelitalo will be looking in his mirrors on every straight, just worrying about where the attack's going to come from if it does. And Craig Patterson, I'm sure, will be in it. Oh, well, will be in the wall, more to the point. Craig Patterson lost it, and he lost it into the barrier. He's lost his front wing, I'm afraid. He's knocked it off on the inside barrier. Let's watch that from on board. Craig Patterson, who just locked up the brakes, spun the car around, nosed it into the wall, and Stefan Rohr, well, that was a very close situation there. He would have had his heart in his mouth as he went past that there. Very close call, but made it through without any damage, without actually touching him at all, which is good to see. And now Stefan Rohr is up into 4th position.
Yeah, amazing stuff. I just hope that Craig Patterson isn't using one of those like high-tech direct drive wheels. Otherwise, that's got to be wrecking his wrists, eh?
Well, yeah, that would have been a bit of a painful one. The wheel certainly seemed to snap round once. I often find that the fast spins are more painful than the accidents when you have... I mean, I don't have a direct drive wheel, but I certainly have one with quite good force feedback. And I once had a very fast spin in a Ferrari F1 car at Spa-Francorchamps, and I actually damaged my wrist doing that. But... yeah, it's not often that you see drivers getting injured while sim racing, and hopefully that won't happen, but I don't think it will.
We'll say though, just Dal Tapper has been doing amazing work, because remember the two behind him, Lindbergh and Littleout, haven't really been caught up in all that sort of mess and the fighting behind in the train. But Dal Tapper is putting off some seriously fast times himself to be able to now get 9.7 seconds ahead of Johan Lindbergh in second. He wants this race so much.
Absolutely, he does. All of these drivers want better positions than this. They feel with the reverse grid that they deserve much higher positions, and to be honest they do, but they have to fight for it. They're not going to be given it on a plate, and that's what they're doing now, this whole chain. And of course, I'm not saying that the quicker drivers absolutely deserve the positions. To be honest, Tommy Little absolutely deserves to be in third position at the minute, because although he's slower than all four of the drivers behind him, he is defending very well. He's keeping it clean, and he's not making any mistakes. And I can tell you that is extremely hard when you see so many drivers in your mirrors. The first thing you do is you look in your mirrors on every straight. You look behind you at the car behind you, and then you make errors. And I've discovered that for myself. But watch Royal here taking a look to the inside of Little, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. Little just doesn't give him the opportunity and stays in third place. But yeah, very good.
Remember, Little is on that harder tyre as well instead of Roll, who with the soft tyre should have that speed. And this is the amazing part. All top three are on that harder tyre, so they should be safe to just go the whole length. It's the others behind that really have to push to close that gap.
I should point out actually that all of those drivers are on the harder tyre. In fact, Cameron Roger in 10th place is the first driver on the softs, so they're a long way behind. But anyway, yeah, definitely. Stefan Roll.
Oh, yep, that's me going wrong. Sorry about that.
That's fine. Stefan Roll still attacking Tommy Little. It's Little, Roll, Richards, Brewer and Winnick, the fight that we're watching. 5 cars involved, and still they're holding formation somehow.
Just trying to see if we've got any other fights going on behind. Declitis is trying to catch up on Alan Pinch's, but can't really just get in the distance. And then otherwise, it's pretty clean. All we've got is Zepanek, who did pit in to get that second set of soft tyres, is closing in on Alyssa Ferry.
I want to work out quite where the championship is going to be at the end of this round if they finish like this. I want to work out what the gap between Roll and Winnick will be, but I'll get that to you when I work it out. Oh, I think I may have just lagged the stream while doing that. Apologies. I think I'm gonna have to close the site, I'm afraid, because it's causing.
It's creating a bit of a chug, yeah. But just to update you, Alistair Long going into the pit as well.
Roll getting a good run out of the corner. Roll going for third. He's going to get it on the outside. Roll around the outside of Tommy Little, and he gets the place. Stefan Roll up to third. Little down to fourth, and at the same time, Matchin Winnick past Daniel Brewer. So Brewer drops to 7th, Winnick up to 6th, and Roll is up to 3rd in all of that as well. So a couple of moves going on there, and it's all change at the front of the order. And now watch as Richards takes a look at Little into the hairpin. They all squish together, compressed like a slinky. And now watch Winnick in the slipstream of Matt Richards. Pulls to the outside, tries to brake later. Matt Richards brakes too late and goes wide. Winnick is back alongside him and sticks with him as they brake. And he gets it. So Matchin Winnick gets the place. He's up into 5th position. That's a good move. Now watch as Dan Brewer takes a look as well. He's not quite with them yet. Matchin Winnick goes through into 5th. Matt Richards goes down into 6th. Now we only have Tommy Little separating the 2 Scuderia Basilea cars.
Yep, I said earlier how that space was getting closer, but now it's the problem for Linek. Is Rule is going to go off all on his own. So much clear space ahead of him, and he's now looking to catch up with Lindbergh.
Yeah, Rule has been absolutely getting away from them now. His gap to Lindbergh up ahead is 5.3 seconds. So he has a big task on his hands if he's going to catch Lindbergh in 2nd. Lindbergh and Tapper out in front. They've just been getting on and doing it. You know, we haven't mentioned them at all, simply because these drivers behind have been fighting so hard that they've been absolutely out in the open for the entire time, and they will be absolutely loving that. Little will be their absolute best friend after all of this, I'm sure. And Little for himself did a great job of holding them off. I can't tell you how good it feels when you're a slower driver and you're holding off several quicker drivers. It's a great feeling. It's very tense at the time, but afterwards you feel such a sense of satisfaction that it's just brilliant. And I get that all the time in reverse grid touring car races. But anyway, yeah, Little there doing a good job, and now fending off Matchin Winnick for 4th.
The question is, I'm going to pose to you now, I think Little should focus on this defending There's still 9 laps left. Lilek's got to make the pass. He's just so much faster, of course, than his opponent. We've seen it before. Do you think it's just better for him trying to let that pass and make sure not to cause any mistakes?
No, certainly not. I think the quicker Winnick gets past, the quicker the guy behind him can attack you. Really, you just have to defend for every position in a sprint race like this, and then you'll find yourself dropping down the order a lot slower than if you're very passive. And there have been some drivers I've raced who I've come up behind and they've just given me the place and then finished right down the order. And I thought, you know, why have you finished that far down? Because you had the potential to finish so much higher up. And they said, well, I was just letting everyone through because I didn't want to cause incidents. That's not the attitude of a racing driver. And Tommy Little has that attitude. Well, no, he has the correct attitude, rather. He's fighting for it.
Yep. Good stuff. Trying to have a little look around because that train looks to still continue and won't be into the DRS zone, which I expect to see them getting a little bit feisty. And everyone else, they're being calm here. They're being a bit mild. They're tamed cats. They're just purring away.
Yeah, seems like it, but I think there's certainly more going on inside the car. They just don't want to throw it away. And at a street circuit like Singapore, when really the only moves you can do a lot of the time are lunges, it's probably better to sit behind the car in front. And a lot of the time they'll make a mistake and you'll get a better opportunity. But for now, anyway, the train continues. Incidentally, Roar has really been pulling in the gap to Limburg ahead. The gap's now 3.9 seconds, so that's coming in.
Oh,
yeah, watch Brewer.
Just loses it to Matt Richards, but don't expect that to be the last time. He will get the DRS. The whole of them are going to get DRS, and really thought about it. Sorry, Miliak thought about it.
Well, this is fantastic. Matthew Wellington says, Josh speaks the truth. Thank you very much, Matt. I do try to. Yeah, the Basilea does seem to be so good in dirty air. They really have set that car up well, and we're about to see an example of that as Stefan Rohr, Maciej Winnick rather, attacks Tommy Little, tries to force him into a mistake rather. It doesn't end up paying off quite yet, but I'm sure it won't be too much longer. I say I'm sure, but as I keep saying, you know, I can't stop saying how great it is to see a driver holding off championship contenders like this. It's great fun to do, great fun to watch, great fun to be part of. Unless you're that championship contender, so Winnick will be getting quite annoyed here.
He definitely is, and well, let's just give it. Little has been doing absolutely fantastic on defense. He's moved into the inside there, expecting the early attack. It's fine though. There doesn't have the speed to overtake just yet. Oh, a little bit of an overcook there from Little, but still holds enough. He's just got to be careful. It is feeling like a matter of time before the attack comes in and the overtake. But as long as Little can hold it off for as long as he can, the others behind, Richards, Brewer, won't get as big a chance to overtake him. And so, Little is looking to hold on to some really good points.
Absolutely fantastic so far. We're on lap 13 out of 20 here. Lap 13 out of 20, so 7 laps to go after this one. In fact, it's just swapped over to 14 out of 20. Dawe Tapa starts another lap there. And one battle I'm going to keep an eye on in the live timing is that Stefan Rohr is now just 2.2 seconds behind Johan Limburg. So he's brought that in by about 1.9 seconds since last time I looked there. So that's definitely closing in. Watch Little there trying to break the slipstream of Maciej Winnick.
Skip to rule. I'm just going to say it now. He's looking to make the overtake. He's got... Ooh, being careful on the inside, but... It's looking like the next lap. He's already making another maneuver going side by side. There it is. Lovely and clean.
Easy peasy. He got that far before the corner there. Stefan Rohr has been catching Limburg for laps. And there, well, we're just going to see it again on replay. But Stefan Rohr slipstreams his way past past Johan Limburg, rather, and goes through into second position. And that is how you need to do it. Indeed, the Scuderia Basilea car, very good in clean air. Stefan Rowe, very good at overtaking and at racing in general. And he now has, well, to be honest...
Oh, Littler's gone off the track! He's had to go wide, and so he's dropped all the way back to 7th. The whole pack.
Bother.
Linek, Richards and Brewer, get ahead.
I was really rooting for Littler there. Could you tell? But anyway, yeah, made a mistake, lost a couple of positions. Wasn't a big off, but I'm afraid he will be feeling pretty disappointed about that. Littler there now in 7th position, which is still going to be a good result. And let's face it, he did his best and did a great job. But he's in the end had to let Winnick, Richards and Brewer go through into 4th, 5th and 6th respectively. So that's the order now. That's how it's changed, and we now have just 5 laps remaining in this race.
Josh, I'm just going to ask you now, do you think Lilek can catch up to Lindbergh in those 5 laps? It is about a 5-second difference between them. Do you think he can do it, or do you think he's not going to be able to catch up on his teammate?
5.4 seconds behind and 5 laps to do it, so he'd need to gain something like 1.1 seconds per lap. I think that's asking a bit much there. It's very ambitious, so it's doable if Lindbergh makes a mistake, but well, and we all know that the Weighty F1 car is the least lucky car on the grid.
Oh, just to quickly call you off, Alan Pitts is going into the pits right now, sitting there. That's put him all the way down the 14th.
So someone didn't make their tyres last for this entire race?
Nope.
So yeah, what I was saying is...
He came out at 16th. He's looking to be... Oh, his teammate Viz coming on beside him. I think if he puts his foot down, we might be able to catch up with Ferry and make it into 15th. It's looking possible, and Craig Patterson isn't that much further ahead, so a possible 14th still there for Pitsters.
It's been a disappointing race for Craig Patterson. He was running very high up the order until he made a mistake, and now he just hasn't been able to fight it back again. Yeah, Craig still in the points, but not anywhere near where he expected to be or hoped to be in this race, which is a bit of a shame. But anyway. Yeah, what I was saying before is that I don't think Winnick is going to be able to catch on to the rear end of Lindbergh's car unless there is a big mistake from Johan Lindbergh, and I'm not trying to curse it there, but to be honest, the Weighty F1 car needs no cursing. Out to the final corner again comes Lindbergh. Let's see what the gap is this time around. He's just dropped behind a second behind Stefan Rowe in second. And then Maciej Winnick, oh my word, 3.6 seconds back. I tell you what, Winnick there gained 1.8 seconds on that lap. You know what?
He looks like he could do it. The problem is making that overtake.
Yeah.
Like you can see him down the straight. I think this is going to be the exciting one. If he can do it, I would eat my hat.
And look at this, Richards and Brewer are coming with him. So this is a very tense situation at the end of this race. I wasn't expecting him to be so much quicker than Lindbergh, but he's really doing it at this stage. And Winnick is coming from behind like a shark. Oh, slight clonk of the barrier from Matt Richards there. That was a little bit close. But I've just had a thought actually. That's those are scales that the livery is designed to emulate on the Scuderia Basilea car. So it really is like he's approaching like some sort of predatory fish, you know.
Yeah, he talked that, and yeah, Lindbergh is the food sandwiched between the two Scuderia Brasilias. That's not got to be a place where you want to be. Of course, ahead he's happy, taking third, but behind, like you said, a predator, near enough a tiger, looking to come down on him, and now 2 seconds the difference between them.
Goodness gracious, this is reminiscent of the end of the 2016 Singapore Grand Prix, where Daniel Ricciardo was, or Ricciardo rather, was approaching Nico Rosberg, taking second after second out of him, and passed him just after the finish line. One of the closest finishes in modern years in Formula 1. And we might well get a very similar situation here today. It's certainly reminiscent of it, and the gap is 3. It's 1.6 seconds! Winnick might get him by the end of this lap!
I'm just going to say, keep an eye on... Right, you keep the eye on Winnick. Then in case of the manoeuvre, I'm keeping my eye on Brewer and Richards behind. They are playing nice with each other, but how long is that going to last? Of course, Brewer's got to want to steal 5th away from Richards.
This is a fantastic race. It's all building up in these last couple of laps. Matcham Winnick is setting laps 2 seconds per lap faster than Johan Lindberg. And if Dirty Air didn't exist, he'd go straight past him on this lap. But anyway, we'll have to see. Will Lindberg react to all of this? And what can Winnick do about actually getting past him? We're on lap 17 of 20. So we've still got a couple of laps to go. And Winnick has caught him so much faster than I expected him to. This is actually really quite ridiculous pace from Matcham Winnick very late in the race.
And you got to think now that DRS now comes into play. There's only half a second between them. He's going to make this move. I'm calling it now. He's making this move.
Again, it's one thing to catch someone, but another thing to pass them. And the passing bit is the properly difficult bit. So it's all about whether he can find an opportunity, whether he can force a mistake, whether he can do it cleanly. What can Matcham Winnick do about Johan Lindberg? As they cross the line this time, the gap's going to be about 0.4 of a second. It's yeah, as I called it, it's between 4 and 0.5 of a second there. Now he's going to have a very good face full of slipstream as we head down the next straight. And this is Matcham Winnick's chance. This is his attack station. Matcham Winnick on the inside, and he's going through before the corner. Matcham Winnick has caught at an alarming rate and has passed Johan Lindberg. He's blasted past him in a straight line. Scuderia Basilea are going to get a quadruple podium. This is unbelievable.
That looked almost too easy there from Lick. Just putting it away. It was a gust of air breezing on through. Now Lindberg, he's got to be careful because Richards is closing up behind. He's just got to focus on that defense now.
Of course, the Scuderia Basilea car is based on a snake, aka the basilisk, which their name is based on. But still, it certainly looked about right, being you know, slithering closer and closer. I'm sure those scales must reduce drag somehow, because that car just moves so fast in a straight line. It slips through the air like, you know, like a snake would.
It all makes sense now, really.
Yeah, I call unfair advantage for that livery. I'm joking.
Well, looking on through as well, because Miles is trying to make a move onto Jason Muscat, who has made it up into 10th, starting from 15th, I do believe. So we have had a lot of movement through this race. The sprint has definitely delivered.
Yeah, certainly. It's been a fantastic race, highly unpredictable, and great to see so many drivers going at it and so many positions changing so late in the race. It might not be over yet though, because the two YTF 1 cars are very close now on the penultimate lap of the race. Johan Lindberg's been losing a lot of time. Now, will Matt Richards stay behind him and try to defend from Daniel Brewer, or will Richards just take the place and run away with it? We'll have to see. But Richards obviously gaining at a very similar pace to the pace that Winnick just gained at. So Matt Richards surely has the pace now to pass Lindberg, but as their teammates, what's the strategy?
You gotta think, like, Lindberg was put on such a great race, and Richards as well. I'd imagine Richards would hold off, try and keep behind Brewer, and then if he's granted it by Lindberg, take that little space at the end, because they are not going to fight. There's too much to risk here as we come into the last 2 laps.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see what they do. A lot of teams would see this in a very different way. It's a difficult situation for teams. There's also a fight going on behind. Look at this. This is Paisler, no, DeChutis fighting with Choda and Muscat, and DeChutis.
Kosmara,
yeah, Kosmara,
well, it's a football man, and even look at Zipiak is looking for it as well. This is a crazy 5-man train, just near enough trying to fight between 8th to 12th.
You really don't know where to look in a race such as this one. This is fantastic. You get battles wherever you look in the order, and not really anyone to tell you which way is the correct direction. But anyway, we're on to the final lap now. The leaders are anyway. Dawe Tapper starts the final lap of the race. His advantage is 12.392 seconds. That's a massive advantage there, as he leads us round on the final lap of the race. I'm still watching this 5-car chain just in case anything happens, but I'll switch back to in time to see Dawe Tapper taking the checkered flag.
I'll watch Tapper for you, buddy. You keep on that train.
Yeah, well, you have to remember that whatever I see, the audience sees. But anyway, cross the line. Watch Choda. Choda takes a look, doesn't make it in the background. Jupinet going around the outside of Kosmala, makes it stick. Very good indeed. Now, after that's worked, I'm going to go up to see the winner home. Dawe Tapper has a couple of corners left to go. He sees, I think that was Ali Ferry up ahead of him. Actually, no one's going to finish this race a lap down. We had a couple of retirements. Cameron Roger retired, which we didn't see. Alistair Long retired. Adrian Faber did. So did Peter Schultz, Ben Horrell and Matthew Klipp. But no one ended up finishing a lap down in this race. It was only 20 laps. But anyway, Dawe Tapper has a couple of corners to go in this race. He's had no one to worry about in this race. He's been able to just run away and do his own thing. It's been a great drive from Dawe Tapper, very clean, a big contrast to race 1 where he was all over the place. And Tapper, after finishing 10th in race 1, is going to claim race 2 from the reverse grid pole. Dawe Tapper wins it. A good drive from him. Stefan Roll is going to come 2nd place and bring some points back to his teammate in the championship. There he goes, crosses the line and takes 2nd ahead of Maciej Winnick, who fought his way past Johan Lindberg and finished in 3rd. Lindberg is going to claim 4th, followed by his teammate Matt Richards. Then it's Daniel Brewer. Tommy Littleow is going to finish a little way behind. His tyres were pretty ruined after that spin, that little mistake. But yeah, it was a great drive up until that point, and I tell you what, he was one of the most entertaining drivers to watch in that race. As 8th place in the end is going to go to Sandeep Choda, but you have to say that driver of the race is hotly contested between Tapper, Raw and Winnick. All 3 of the drivers on the podium did a stellar job.
Oh yeah, definitely, and let's just see the rest of them over the line as Muscat's just finished. Patterson coming over finishes behind Jack Mayer across the line in 15th, well, so all the points claimed. Oh, Senderviz just coming over now, followed by Haisler. Fuller coming into the last couple of turns through the tunnel. Does have Ferry coming in behind, but a little bit too far away, unless there's a little mishap here to be able to take 18th away from Fuller, who coming down to the last turn now will make it across. This has been a spectacular race.
Absolutely, it certainly has been an absolutely fantastic race and a great round, in fact. Very exciting from both a championship point of view and a racing point of view. And at the end of that particular race there, we had Dawe Tapper winning it in the end. Let's go. I'm going to show you all of the cars if I just whiz through. Dawe Tapper there won it in the end in the number 86, followed by Stefan Roel and Maciej Winnick, the 2 Scuderia Basilea cars, again going at it and finishing 2nd and 3rd. It's a quadruple podium for Scuderia Basilea. Fantastic result. Johan Lindberg was 4th, followed by Matt Richards, Daniel Brewer, Tommy Littleow, Sandeep Choda, and then Lorenzo De Chutis and Bent Jupinek. Jupinek had a very disappointing round, retired from race 1 and could only recover to 10th place in race 2. Very disappointing for the driver who came here 3rd in the championship. Then it was Sebastian Kosmala, Jason Muscat, Craig Patterson, Adam Pinches, Jack Mayer claiming the final point, and then a couple of people who didn't claim any points, including Sven de Vries, Bastian Peisler, Mark Fuller, Alyssa Ferry, Cameron Roger, who retired, and then everyone behind him was also a retirement. Alistair Long, Adrian Faber, Peter Schultz, Ben Horrell, and Matthew Klipp.
Yeah, unfortunate that once again we had few little DNFs, but considering the first 2 laps, I'm surprised we got this many in the end, eh?
Yeah, fantastic. Race 2 was... actually, I think in terms of little accidents, race 2 was a lot less clean than race 1. As Dowie Tapper now does donuts on the grid. That's great to see. Well, it was great to see up until he stuffed it into the barrier. But anyway...
No one saw it, don't worry.
I'm pretty sure... Wasn't it Tapper who did those dreadful donuts at Barcelona as well? Someone did. And it must just be a... No, I think that was Raw, in fact. It looks like terrible donuts. It's just a tradition in Supercup. But anyway, whatever the case. That's the end of that. Yeah, in terms of little incidents, I think race 2 was a lot more action-packed than race 1, but in terms of actual retirements, race 1 was a lot worse with all of those engine failures as well. Luckily, we didn't see any of those in race 2, with 2 being a much shorter race. But anyway, that's the end of that for today. We're going to get some interviews in now. We're going to get some of the drivers in for some post-race interviews. And then that will be it for the broadcast. So, a couple of drivers just about to be brought in here. Let's start with the drivers who are already here. Starting with our race 1 winner. Hello, Maciej Młynek.
Hello. Hello.
So, Maciej, we should start from qualifying actually, because that was an absolute stormer of a lap. It was your last attempt as well. Came out of nowhere. What does it take to be quick around here?
I think you just need to have good front downforce, because I had a lack of rear downforce, but I managed that, and I think in qualifying especially it helped with getting better lap time with less fuel. And I think that's all.
Fantastic. And then of course in the race you had to fight for that one. You got on the strategy in the end after Stefan Roth got a better start than you in the other Scuderia Basilea car. So was it a particularly tense race then?
Yeah, I was trying to stay behind Stefan because he didn't know if he will go for 1 or 2 stops, and I decided to just stay behind him, so maybe I will make him burn his tires more. But he went for 1 stop, and when he entered the pits, I tried to do the Schumacher with overcutting people. And fortunately I managed to come out of the pits with 2-second gap to Stefan, and I just was driving myself, not pushing too hard, and trying to keep Stefan on distance behind, and I succeeded.
In race 2 as well, you were involved in a little incident at the start, but then fought back and passed one of the weighty F1 cars, Limburg, very close to the end of the race with a massive gain in terms of lap time. You were gaining 2 seconds a lap on him at the end there. I take it your car was working really well even in the late stages. Your tyres just didn't seem to go off, did they?
I think I did good job with tire management, and Johan might have not, and he was losing more time with more tire wear, and I think that's why he lost his pace and he dropped behind me and Stefan earlier on.
What actually happened at the start of the race? It certainly got our hearts racing. I take it yours was even more. Was there any way you could have gone? Did it just happen too fast?
I tried to go on the inside of Adam Pinches, I think, and suddenly I saw 2 cars spinning in front of me, and I had just nowhere to go and needed to nearly stop fully. And when the road got clear, I got back to the race, I think in P12. And from that point, it was just trying to gain in slipstream and overtake people, because I was feeling that I have advantage of top speed over others, and I was trying to use it on the straights, because there is pretty much no places to overtake apart from braking after the arrest zones.
Well, that's fantastic. And in terms of the championship as well, I believe you pulled 8 points from Raw. Indeed, over the course of the 2 races, you actually gained 1 more point than him, bringing your total to 9 points ahead of his. And with a couple of rounds left in the championship, it's still pretty close. But that tiny buffer is surely a bit of a comfort.
Yeah, well, we are teammates, but we'll be fighting tough for that championship, because everyone, me and Stefan, wants that Drivers' Championship, and we'll see who comes first at the end.
Fantastic. Well, before we move on to your teammate, and thanks for that little interview there, but before we move on to your teammate, we are going to speak to our Race 2 winner, Dawe Tapper. Hello, Dawe.
Hi.
So, let's start from the beginning, even though that might be a bit painful. Race 1 didn't exactly go to plan, did it? I saw a couple of spins, couple of incidents. Talk us through how battered you ended up being.
Well, I mean, from the starting from the back is always tricky anyway, but especially around here, as it's just difficult to overtake anyone. As it turned out, as the race progressed, I found out I had way more wing than some of the people around me. And then I just tried to make the best of it, doing some overtakes that may or may not have been a bit aggressive in the eyes of the person I overtook, but it happens, and I spun a couple of times. Like I said, I hit the wall a few times. In the end, the car wasn't at its best, but I made the best of it, and yeah, I got P10 in the end.
And that P10 ended up proving crucial, didn't it? Because it gave you the pole position for race 2, and you just seemed to run away with it. That was going so well.
Yeah, I knew that if I kept the car undamaged, as I found out in race 1, up till the point I had the damage, I noticed I had decent pace to do well. But then when the transition period between race 1 and 2, I wasn't actually behind my computer, so I didn't notice I had pole until a few seconds before the race started. So that was a nice surprise. And then I looked at who were behind me. I knew from a few guys they weren't as quick as me, or at least I hoped they wouldn't be. And I got a clean getaway, and then just did the old runaway pretty much.
Fantastic. And you claimed the race win in the end as well. And that's your first win of the season, actually. You've got a couple of second places in the past, but finally you've got the win. Is that a relief?
Yeah, actually, to be honest, I did think I would be able to win here, as I said, because of my penalties I had for race 1. But yeah, to have the reverse pole around the track like this really helps you out. And it's just great to finally have race win, because I nearly missed out on it back in Canada. But yeah, to have it finally is really, really good.
Well, that's fantastic. You did a great job, and thanks for speaking to us after the race.
No problem. Always fun to do.
Moving on now to the driver who finished on the podium twice in those races, but couldn't quite get a win together. Stefan Ruhl, 2 second places. Hello. Stefan?
Hey, Josh.
Hello,
yeah,
Stefan. So, as I said, 2 second places. You got a very good start to race 1 there. Did you think that? Well, were you surprised when Maciej got the overcut to work?
Yeah, actually, I was very surprised that it worked so well for him, because I thought it was going to be close, but then it wasn't close at all. He was like 2 seconds in front, so that really surprised me. Yeah.
And from then on, there was no catching him. What's the rule in the team? Is it that you're not supposed to race on track, or are you free to race?
No, we're still free to race. Even what happened in Italy didn't change that. But I think there are some rules, like if you're in front before the pit stops, you get to choose whether you want to stop first or second. Actually, this time around, there was no choice, because I destroyed my tires in practice. I couldn't get it together, so I said, let me just pit first anyway. But then, like I said, he got 2 seconds in front, and I just thought, okay, this is done. Behind someone who has such similar pace on this track, it's just impossible to overtake. So I just started to save some tires, maybe hope that he would lose his tires in the end. But when I just started to push again, I got a bit closer actually, but Yeah, it wasn't enough, and in the end I destroyed my own tire. So that was it. But P2, I think a good result.
Yeah, certainly. It puts you in a, well, it's still very close in the championship. You're 9 points behind Mache now, and with a couple of rounds left to go in the championship, it's still wide open. Are you going to deploy any other tactics?
No, I think we're gonna just keep doing what we're doing. It's been working for us really well. Getting the team championship so early is a really nice feeling. And like I said, because it's working really well so far, I don't want to change anything for the next couple of rounds.
Well, fantastic! It's great to see that it's going so well for you, and I hope to. I wish you good luck for the rest of the season.
Thanks.
So that's the end of this Supercup broadcast today. Again, apologies that the stream wasn't entirely top notch. That's because the cameraman who was supposed to do it and who normally does it was ill, so I had to take over, and I've never done this before. So it was a learning experience for me, and hopefully it'll get better in the future. But thanks to Corey Dyer for joining me in the commentary box today, and to all of the drivers who I've interviewed. Fantastic couple of races. Great to see so many on-track battles and so much drama as well. Corey, do you have any thoughts on it before we end the broadcast?
No, just that. It was a fantastic first broadcast. Action just top notch, and the drivers just really trying to go out of it. A lot of respect at times, but of course, as it is Singapore, like we said, accidents do happen from all those lunges. So I'd just be happy to be coming back in the future, of course, and can't wait to see more out of the league, out of the Super Cup.
Yeah, Super Cup's fantastic, and you can see it in 2 weeks' time at the same time. But tomorrow, don't miss the Super League at the same track with the faster cars and the more competitive series. Don't miss that. That's tomorrow, and it will start at about 7:30 again, and then of course. In 2 weeks minus 1 day, you get the next round of Formula Challenge as well. So until then, we will see you next time.